Okay, are we back? Rennie's saying she'd rather get turned into a human nugget instead of getting... Wait, what? I can't tell if you're trolling or not. Stop. There's literally nothing good. We're going to be 2023, Steven. There's nothing good down that pathway of discussion, okay? Unless she wants to talk about something. There's literally no point.
Cook delicious meals.
No,
I just think I would love to get ratatouille.
Ratatouille?
Like have a little guy up there.
Excuse me?
You know, making me cook delicious meals.
No, I understand. I've seen the film.
You wouldn't want that?
I-
A little guy pulling your hair, making you cook?
It's a ridiculous concept.
You're telling me you wouldn't want that?
I just don't know why you're bringing it up as if it's something that could actually happen.
You wouldn't want a little ratatouille guy up there doing whatever?
It's honestly insane that a rat would even be able to cook in the first place.
He doesn't have to be cooking.
In the movie, he's cooking.
Yeah, but in this scenario, though, he could do other stuff.
Yes, but you called it getting ratatouille. I mean, the movie is about cooking. Why call it getting ratatouille if the rat isn't even going to be making you cook? I don't need a rat to help me cook.
You're hung up on the cooking thing.
You were the one who referenced food.
Forget what I said.
You called it getting ratatouille,
Oh
which
my
is a
God.
reference to cooking in the first place.
Forget what I said. Ratatouille is just the frame of reference. Like, you can get ratatouille into doing other stuff.
It's just important to remember that words mean things.
Yeah, but I
The
mean...
word ratatouille has implications about cooking.
It's just easier to call it that. It's a ratatouille situation.
Words mean things.
Listen, if there's a little guy up there like a rat up on your head, it's a ratatouille, even if you're not cooking.
Okay. For this conversation, we can call it getting ratatouille, but I think moving forward, we should establish a different terminology.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to know if you would want to get ratatouilled.
Yes. I think I would want the rat to help me write a screenplay.
Thank you. That's pretty cool, man.
Thanks.
Jamie, pull up my favorite scene.
Okay.
South Carolina, what? That's crazy. Hold on a second. Oh, take off my pants.
What are you doing?
Shut up. Bro, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I actually, bro, what the fuck? South Carolina, what?
Okay. Wait, is this referring to that one Alzheimer's thing from 2006, or is this a different Alzheimer's thing? Bro. Different one. Can we talk a little bit about your film Drive?
Sure.
Yeah, I know you probably talked about it a lot. But there's been a bit of an internet phenomena amongst the meme and film community these past few years regarding Ryan Gosling's character in the film. Are you aware of this?
Sometimes. My kids send them to me.
Okay, here, I'll delve into it a little. I'm sure you're familiar with the archetypes of an alpha male and a beta male. However, the internet has coined a new term called a sigma male. I'll give you the definition from the most trusted source, Urban Dictionary. A sigma male can be described as an alpha male on the social hierarchy, but they do not conform to society standards, and they would rather think for themselves. They also tend to be somewhat of a lone wolf and more introverted, focusing on internal development and strength. They usually make memes about Ryan Gosling's character. There's whole subreddits breaking down how to be a sigma like him, and they talk how they two can be just
Well, my mother would probably say, "Oh, they're writing about you again." I think.
more important. For some clips. Someone said a new way to throw. Are there any more ways left to throw that he hasn't discovered?
Matches. Crafting.
Oh. Okay, got the golden plate body. Oh, okay.
Tumor slowly.
Distracting!
Why did he?
Matches. Crafting. Tumor slowly.
Distracting!
He's an innovator. Jesus. Who's right here?
The perfect stereotypes of so many characters, whether it was like Candyland or Canute.
Didn't
like,
Cutie Cinderella come from there?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I mean, even like me and Miz.
This is the problem with the Poggers community. We're not getting any new blood. We got extra money. We've already taken her.
I agree, man. That's I always say that.
I blame cancel culture because if you guys could host shows like that without being scared of what's happening.
To be honest, we can still do it.
We can't really do it.
No, you cannot do that nowadays.
Yeah, we
no,
can.
not when you're tied to other
No,
people.
she's 100.
That's the thing. You can do it, but you won't because it'll cost you viewership because some people get mad. That's the reality of it. Streamers collaborate with other streamers because the synergistic effect gives you way more fucking viewers. That's why streamers are always looking to collab with other big streamers. But they're not going to do shows with a bunch of small nobodies because it's an investment into a new format, and you're probably not going to pull as many viewers until it gets popular as you would just sucking off other streamers. So yeah, that's why they wouldn't do it.
100% right. It's cancel culture that stopped us from doing it. No, but people getting afraid that people on streams are going to cancel you, you're going to get banned. That stopped a lot of people doing it. Am I wrong in thinking that like those shows were not like bad?
S-Band is like the only one here that's like I don't think any of those shows would have gotten you banned. Like they're probably less likely to get you banned than the average politics streamer.
Contestant would come on. But think about it, S-Band, they weren't that bad back then, but now imagine now. In 2018, they weren't getting that canceled, but imagine now it is. It'd be over. I think all that stuff's still funny.
Nah, you could do it now. That was so much meme for so little payoff. I don't get it. Or is the joke that I'm sitting next to her now, I guess? Okay. Cut it down by like 15 seconds, Chief. Okay. I get called out on David Pakman's show. Are you into Diablo games? Are you playing the fourth one? Maybe. I don't know. I need a group of friends that plays games. I don't have any more fucking gamer friends. Jesus. Your new schedule just dropped.
How come you're up so early? Say, if you were headed where I'm headed, you'd be up early too. If you were gonna meet who I'm gonna meet, you'd be up early.
Jesus.
That Tate, he's a net negative or a net positive?
Blue-haired he/him. If my 11-year-old son looked at him, that would fucking scare me. A man with a penis. Who would you want your son to look up to? Blue-haired he, him, they, everybody. A Marvel superhero. Limpheo. He couldn't dare say him. A man with a penis. Tate is the closest thing to that. Superior person is the one who knows how to think. What the fuck is this person? Hold on.
Ooh. Okay, boom, boom, boom. The empaths are at it again.
Is it better to speak?
Me as fuck, because I'm an overly observant person and I can read people so well. I read every feeling they have against me and movement, etc. I read into every little part too much. Make up scenarios for each one and drive myself insane to make anyone else but myself okay. Please fucking stop. It's just called being retarded. Yeah, true. Okay, let's see what a good friend of the stream Vouch is up to.
Caller, Vosh is calling anti-trans bills genocide from the David Pakman Show. That is true. I do say this. What's up?
To Casey from Kansas. Casey from Kansas, welcome to the program. Let's hope and pray for no technical issues. Casey, welcome. You're on. Oh, dear. Casey, the most likely problem is you've selected an audio device that's not valid on your computer.
That's true.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Oh, you can? Sorry, it took me a second.
What's going on?
I had a question relating to something that's been asked in a few of the communities I'm in recently.
Okay.
Mainly the Vosh or Vouch community, as some
Ian
would call
Vouch,
it.
of course.
Yes, Ian Vouch. But would you consider the legislation and the rhetoric from the GOP targeting trans people to be a genocide in any sense of the word?
Okay. So just really quickly, because people keep playing this semantic game, I want to make it clear.
Yes.
That as a linguistic descriptivist, okay, I really don't care that much about the idea of like the sanctity of a definition. The problem that I have here is that it seems like the term concentration camp, this is something that you can use to refer to.
Just as a heads up, language is kind of like all we have as humans. Like it's like the most important thing that we have that separates us from the rest of existence. I don't know how you can ever say that like, I don't actually care about what a word mean. I don't care what a word mean. I don't know what the fuck you mean when you say that. It's like one of the more defining aspects of our existence. So I don't know why people say shit like that. I truly don't understand.
To an incredibly wide range of actions, and if you abide by some definitions, it makes sense, and if you abide by some colloquial definitions, it doesn't. So, for instance, the border camps that Trump maintained, and let's be fair, to an extent, Biden maintains still, to a lesser extent, but yeah, still, meet the definition of a concentration camp with like detainment and like political purposes and the whole thing, you know? It meets, and Obama, yes, and going a while back, it meets the definition of a concentration camp. But when I said that, like 2-3 years ago when this was active, ongoing discourse, there were a lot of conservatives who were like, well, no, a concentration camp is like Auschwitz. It's like a death camp. And it's, okay, we do tend to call Auschwitz a concentration camp, but the main thing that made Auschwitz significant was that it was a death camp. Concentration camps are not...
While this is true, I don't think a lot of people actually know that. I didn't actually know that until like a year ago. I always thought concentration camp and death camp were the same thing. I think when people say concentration camp, I think you're generally invoking the idea of a death camp. Like when people talk about, like, it's almost ubiquitously referred to as like the Jews that were killed in the concentration camps. I don't think we tend to call them in America. I don't think we call them death camps as much. I feel like, at least when I was growing up, I always heard the term concentration camps. Jews went to concentration camps. But technically, technically it was the death camps were the ones where they were being killed. But I just think colloquially we use the word concentration camp to mean like death camp, I think.
Not actually that uncommon the world around, unfortunately. Death camps are, thankfully, they're a lot rarer. So concentration camps, it's a broader term. I mean, we did them back in World War II with the Japanese internment camps. Those were undeniably concentration camps. Here, if we just hold on, concentration camp definition. That's how we go. We go to the Google definition, like all wise political YouTubers. A place where large numbers of people, especially political prisoners or members of persecuted minorities, are deliberately imprisoned in a relatively small area with inadequate facilities, sometimes to provide forced labor or await mass execution. The term is most strongly associated with Nazi Germany, so on and so forth. It says sometimes to provide forced labor or await mass execution, but if all you're getting from this is a place where large numbers of people, especially political prisoners or members of persecuted minorities, are deliberately imprisoned in a small area with inadequate facilities, that would describe, like, a lot of places, you know? That it's not that uncommon. It's really only one step further along than a regular American prison, to be honest.
No, that's not true. Connotation for concentration camps is that oftentimes, I think one requirement is like deemed for the security of the state. A certain group of people of like a national or ethnic or religious background have to be interned there. It's not just like an advanced prison. Concentration camp is like, our country is under threat or something's happening. We need to take all of X, Y, and Z racial, religious, ethnic minorities or nationality people. We need to put them in an area to contain them. And then oftentimes the conditions are pretty shitty. But I think it's more than just an advanced prison.
The Uyghur Muslims in China? Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. 100%. Yeah. Anyway, so the point here being, like, if your definition of genocide is, like, killing them all, then, like, yeah, obviously that hasn't happened yet. But there are definitions of genocide that involve, like, the absolute social exclusion of a group or an effort to bring about conditions unlivable in nature for a group of people. And I think the reason a lot of people don't like to think about that is because they don't like thinking about genocide as an unexceptional thing. And what I mean by that is, by this definition, Reagan failing to address the AIDS crisis back in the 80s, unquestionably a genocidal act on his part. Literally, like, let's let this disease ravage the gay population because they're being punished by God for their degeneracy, and we're just going to abet and aid that death, you know? That's pretty unambiguously, you know, I don't know how you could argue that isn't true. I just think a lot of people don't like to think of it that way. I think a lot of people like to think it's like, okay, genocide is when Holocaust, concentration camp is when Holocaust, everything is when Holocaust. Vosh, so it's more semantically correct to say lead up to a genocide, but more rhetorically effective to just say genocide? Well, if genocide begins, like, the moment people start, like, getting shot, then we aren't currently in a genocide. If you could say, like, this overwhelming push from Republicans all across the country, this unprecedented wave of anti-trans legislation, which is absolutely an effort to just remove them from society, like, that process is genocidal. That would be what I would say. Like, in this case, we're dealing with, like, a legalistic second-class citizen kind of genocide, where the goal is to use, like, legal separation and legal distinction to
Oh, I thought that was the wind. It was my rocket. Jesus.
Bring about unlivable conditions for a group of people.
Oh no, it's the wind too. It was the wind and my rocket. Bro, these windows are wild up here.
And in that sense, I would say that the laws that are currently being fought for by the GOP are genocidal. But again, like, you notice how little information we're getting out of actually debating the semantics here? I would be much more...
Yeah, but whose fault is it, though, for debating the semantics, right?
Interested in saying, like, yeah, these are genocidal laws. It's like, okay, well, why are they genocidal laws? Because they're looking to bring about the unlivable conditions, so on and so forth. You know, look at this, look at that, da-da-da. And then you, like, move from there. But if we acknowledge that genocide has, like, a ton of different definitions, then obviously there's room for disagreement on the specific use case. It seems like a lot of people just in bad faith want to, like, banty it about. Anyway, sorry, I'm just pausing here. The caller's maybe not acting in bad faith. I don't know anything about the caller, so.
You know, these things are so fraught because you can contrive and fabricate some interpretation of so many things where you could match it up with a number of different words, like, for example, genocide. Speaking colloquially, and I know, Casey, you're not trying to gotcha me, right? Just like,
honest question, at what point would you be concerned about trans people being genocided? Is it the first kill? Here's the issue with calling a trans genocide a trans genocide is that a lot of conservatives don't think trans people are real. So it's like fundamentally a different type of engagement. Like a genocide is like, there's a group of people that all of us acknowledge as existing, and we want to eliminate this group of people. We want to eliminate the Uyghurs. We want to eliminate the Jews. We want to, like, there's a group of people and we need to get rid of all of them. We want to kill them. And I think that's fundamentally a different type of question than, like, I don't believe that transness is a real thing and it's like poisoning our children and we need to like stop trans. Not to say that like that's good, that the end thing is good, but it's fundamentally, it's a different type of thing. And that's why I think that calling it a genocide is just strange when people don't even all agree that trans people are even real things. And to label it a genocide is just a little silly, I think. It misses the point of what's happening.
speaking colloquially, I don't think that those are the right words that I would apply to the anti-trans legislation. Now, can I imagine how someone might make that connection? Can I propose to you how I would do it if I wanted to make that case? You tell me if this is what's being said. Casey? Hello.
God. Damn, he blew that guy the fuck out. Holy shit.
Hi.
Wait, hold on. New way to throw? Okay, hold on. He cooking. Okay,
Said
okay.
the last donor gave me an idea.
Leveled up.
I will punish you every
Bastion
time
of
you
Sebastian.
throw.
Oh no, I'm dead again, LUL. But I'm almost dead anyway.
Oh,
no,
he got fucking smacked.
Oh no, I throw. Unlucky.
It is not working.
Oh no, I'm dead.
Said the last donor gave me an idea.
Hello, Habibi.
I will punish you every time you
Hi,
throw.
what's up?
Hi! Chat was lying. They said you didn't want to talk to me, but you'll talk to me.
I always talk. I love talking. How's it going?
Good. I just want to say, hey, sorry I was in my fifis that day, but also, I just think you're wrong. But also, I think you're right. That everyone is having different experiences with these things. I definitely misunderstood what you meant about getting jumped. So I definitely just wanted to clarify it to my chat that I made that mistake. I thought you were talking about just getting jumped, but I think you were talking about like getting jumped and it leading to severe trauma, like bodily hurt or something.
I mean, that's generally what getting jumped means, right?
Well, that's the problem is like, again, my brother's been jumped. Nobody liked that example, but he has by definition been jumped and he just saw it as another fight. So I'm not sure what you mean when you say getting jumped.
So what everybody means when we say getting jumped is getting jumped is when...
Stop. You did not just say for 8 billion people on the planet what everyone
well,
means.
I am, because getting into a fight is not getting jumped. No, if you're using it that way, you're just wrong, right? Getting jumped is usually somebody ambushes you, or in a place where you're not expecting to fight, somebody like takes advantage of the situation and attacks you. That's getting jumped. Getting jumped isn't like a guy at the bar was talking shit. We decided to go outside and sell things or whatever.
But that's not what happened. Like I said, I gave you an example of my brother did not see it coming. They were at a gas station.
Yeah, so that's getting jumped.
All of a sudden, but he does not consider it a PTSD-inducing event. He considers it another fight.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have had like traumatic events that they don't consider traumatic events and they consider it a whatever thing. Yeah, of course.
Same with rape, right? I understand from your perspective, maybe there's a reality in which you're raped and it's not traumatic. And that's a possibility.
Yeah, sure. Probably for almost any event, there's probably people that have traumatic response and people that don't have traumatic responses. Sure. Some people go to war and kill 5 people and they're fine. Other people go to war and have a friend killed and it's like the end of the world for them. They're like PTSD for the rest of their life. It just
Absolutely.
Sure.
So again, and maybe I misunderstood your initial point in the conversation, and that's my bad. But I felt like it's a much more nuanced, and I felt like you were kind of hoping for a specific answer.
I'm not hoping for anything. I think that questioning it, period, triggers a lot of people because there's like an expected response where it has to be universally reinforcing whatever the current, I guess, like pop view is of everything, and that even questioning that implies that like you disagree with it, and then people run off into really weird.
Yeah, well, I've questioned it. I've made tons of videos on my assault, on my rape. I've been very nuanced about it. But like, again, when I came up, and again, I was in my emotions, so that doesn't count. But maybe when Farah came up, she made some pretty good points. But only Ayla got the gold star from you, and she agreed with you.
Ayla didn't. Wait, you're making assumptions now. Ayla didn't get a gold star for me. Ayla agreed with me, and then I talked to other people that disagreed with me. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong. There's a reason why I talked to I think 3 different people, and then a bunch of people off stream about it afterwards too, because I was just curious about it. But yeah, Ayla happened to agree with me. It doesn't mean she gets a gold star. She could be just as wrong as I am about it. I don't know.
Right. Well, I think the issue is that you both have a life in which you feel like you weren't traumatized, but then I don't know if you could know that without examining your whole life and looking at it and saying, what is trauma? What does it look like? Because I know it because I went to a professional and I got diagnosed and we talked through it and they were like, yeah, look at all the ways your life isn't quite where you want it to be, but let's get you there. But with you two, I'm not sure if you're having that other lived experience where you don't get that care and you don't actually examine your life and you don't wonder why. And so you're like, yeah, I'm fine. But again, like maybe we're defining fine wrong. And I'm not trying to attack you. And I was just like kind of shocked at your you asked the question, but I didn't hear a lot of openness or curiosity about the answer. And maybe that's me projecting. But again, I'm open to the idea that people can do all kinds of odd things when it comes to trauma. But trauma is a physiological like change in the brain. It changes.
I mean, everything is a physio. I don't know what you mean when you say that.
Yeah,
trauma is a physiological change in the brain. Like everything changes our brain, right?
Right, but trauma in particular, like when I went and did DBT for my borderline, which I never asked for but was given as a gift, thank you, universe, I had to go to therapy and make my brain rethink the way it processes information. So it's a processing issue, and it was my responsibility to do that. And so it meant that everything that I heard, I couldn't assume the worst stuff. So even when I heard you, I was like, oh, that's kind of like scary. But then I was like, oh, what is he saying? And I'm really trying to figure it out, but I'm not sure you're being as clear as you think you're being, or maybe you're speaking in such a language that I just don't have words for. But again, getting jumped to me and getting in a fight could be the same thing because of the bubble I'm in. So that's my bubble. So again, that's why I
don't think there's any bubble like that. I just don't
No,
think
you can't say that. I'm telling you my lived experience. You're doing it again. I'm telling you, if you asked my brother and he came on stream, he'd be like, yeah, bro, it was a fight. What are you talking about? I got jumped by 3 guys, didn't see it coming, and they fucked me up, but it's a fight. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying for other people, that's not the circumstance, but I don't know if you know that. And you're telling me I don't know that, but bro, you don't know
Well,
that.
I mean, like, getting jumped is a fight, but it's getting jumped. It's very clearly, like, a different type of thing, right? It's an elevated thing. Right? Like getting raped is a type of sexual assault, but not all sexual assaults are rape, right? Getting jumped is a type of fight, but yeah, sure.
But not all, like, yes. But again, so how you process it, there are people I know in my audience who are like, yeah, I was raped. It was no big deal. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. They, by definition, were raped. My brother, by definition, was jumped.
Sure.
But again, I don't want to compare trauma. All trauma is bad because all trauma is hard. So I don't need to compare it. Getting jumped is bad. Getting raped is bad. They're both bad. And then how the individual experiences it. Yeah, okay, so wait, then I'm curious. When you ask, like, is rape just bad because of the way people react? Like, you must not know that. You must know, no, of course not, because it's a change in the brain. You have to rewire your patterns. You have to work on your PTSD.
When you say a change in the brain, everything changes the brain. That doesn't mean anything. Playing certain types of games, masturbating too much, having new routines, everything changes the brain, right?
Yes.
The question is what causes the change in the brain? That's what I was curious about.
Well, it's that disconnect between, like, reality expectation and then shocking things happening. Hence PTSD, if it happens.
Yeah, but then the answer that you just gave there is more extreme than the answer that I gave. I don't realize do you understand what you're committing yourself to? When you say it's the difference between expectation and what happens, what if you're expecting to get raped? Does that mean that there's no trauma now because there's no difference between the expectation and what happens? I don't think that's true.
Not necessarily, but it could actually allow, like when I went to protests and I went in ready to like fight cops or die or get hit in the head, I know I would have handled it better than if I was raped at the event, because I wasn't planning to get raped at a protest. I was planning to get violent. You know, not that I ever wanted violence, but I'm just saying I prepared for the violence in case it happened, because I've seen people at events get hit with bottles, clubbed over with, like, you know what I mean? I've seen people get literally beat, you know, at protests. So of course I went in prepared for that. It would have been traumatizing, but fuck, I would have really went in with a different mindset. But I also would have been traumatized because I still don't know the lived experience until I have it. And then I'm like, oh, look at that. Like, that's pretty scary. With my rape, of course I didn't go in to get raped. And I knew all my life I could have gotten raped. I'm a woman, right? I'm a person. All people get raped. All genders get raped. But I didn't go in that night really thinking I was going to get raped. I went in that night just like partying, right?
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. It feels like, because these were just like the question I had, but now it feels like you're super reinforcing the point that that I was asking for before that I'm not even decided on. The idea that like, well, if I go into an event expecting something, it's going to dramatically change how I respond to it, which was the kind of the question I was asking that you seem to think that I like was praying for the answer that you're giving now. But
well, no, and I'm saying all things are possible with all people. That's my answer.
No.
My
That's a pointless answer. That doesn't mean anything.
Well, it does, because it depends. Are you the category of human that experiences trauma in this way? Are you the category of human who does in this way? Look, I have immigrant parents from a war-torn country. They're having completely different experiences with gunfire and dying and being taken by Saddam soldiers than our military guys are having going in after playing games and Call of Duty all day. So everyone's going to have a different experience, of course.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm saying when you say all things are possible with all people, it's not like it's a random distribution of like anything could happen to anybody. Like there's going to be people that have a much higher proclivity towards certain things than other people. So that statement is just kind of like all things are possible with all people. Like if Melina asked me, do you want to go out to eat tonight? And I'm like, well, all things are possible with all people. It doesn't really answer any questions, right?
Well, what I mean to say is, if you experience, everyone's going to have a different reaction to the same experience. And because of that...
Okay. I disagree, but yeah, no, I think we can definitely bucket reactions. So there are a lot of we have way more shared reactions than not, right? Everybody that's gone to school, I think, has had like a nightmare of you wake up and you thought that there was like a test tomorrow or that day and you didn't study for it, or everybody has had like a negative reaction of like almost being in a car accident and then getting really paranoid about like certain things. Like there's a lot of shared reactions that we have that are like a sexual assault or getting jumped or having your parents scream at you or whatever, like getting broken up for the first time. Like yeah, we all have like shared responses that I think are pretty common throughout all of like human history and all of humanity, right?
Oh, okay. So yeah, though I agree with the generalizations, yes, I think that I'm more focused on being open to like as small of a reaction to as big of a reaction. So obviously with rape victims, there's some pretty common things: aversion to touch, afraid of loud sounds, afraid of the dark, like afraid of like the gender that assaulted them. There's like pretty universal experiences that we have as rape victims. I've gone to a lot of support groups. We've talked about it. We all basically feel similarly. But then there are the nuances, the exceptions. People have different experiences. Even within those shared, yes, I had the same thing. I handled it this way. How did you handle it? So obviously, I think I'm more focused on the uniqueness of the individual experience, though of course taking into consideration like even statistics, like women are more likely to get PTSD according to the veterans website for .gov. Like apparently women are more likely to get PTSD, and like that would be interesting to know why that is. Or do women just report PTSD more than men? Or do women get diagnosed with it more than men? I mean, you know what I mean? It's like those are the questions that I would be interested in, but I don't think we have the answers yet. We just have a general understanding of what we have so far.
Sure, but that's what you're asking there. Those are exactly my questions. But it sounded like on stream you're like, oh, like I think you said my partner, somebody Googled this and the answer's obvious. They're not obvious. Trauma and trauma response are incredibly complicated. It's like the intersection of like 20 different things. None of these things are obvious or scientific. I mean, we investigate them, but the whys of like why we develop traumas or why some people are more tenacious than others or why some events seem to traumatize everybody, those are really, really hard to understand things.
I mean, I would like both of us. I'm reaching out to some psychologists. I'd love some therapists to come on. I'd love some like professionals who study this for a living to come on, because again, I only have my lived experience and my understanding of what I've read, but this is not my forte, right? This is not my thing. I think I just expected I don't know, maybe it was the day I was hearing it, maybe it's how I heard you say it, but I'm not alone, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people very much misunderstood you then. And I would like there to be some sort of like, are we aware that like we're all using language differently? Do you understand how you came off? It's okay if that's not what you meant. Or maybe I just misunderstood it because I'm not in that bubble. But like, this is a real interesting topic. Like, I love it. I love the question in general. But I got the impression that you just kind of wanted to like shoot the shit more, I guess, which is fine.
I mean, I'm just asking questions around the topic. Yeah. I think it's a really hard thing to ask questions around because the ubiquitous support is just supposed to be yes, queen to everybody, and then there's no questions asked, and then end of discussion. And it feels like asking any question. Like I've never even implied that like one of your characterizations, what I said was insane. You said that like Destiny seems to think that a woman that dresses promiscuously likes to get raped. Not even in a billion years did I say anything even remotely similar to that. What I said is somebody that is more open to sex or more promiscuous, and they do that, and I think the examples I gave was they don't mind giving a body count, they're cool with all of that. If that person gets raped, do they have less trauma afterwards because of all of the weird societal stuff that a more conservative person might have around it doesn't exist with that person? So for instance, if you're a conservative and you think that the body is like the sanctity of Jesus Christ and it's only meant for your husband, and then you get raped, do you feel like, fuck, like I'm ruined, I'm less of a woman, I'm disgusting? Like, do you carry a bunch of negative feelings with you that like somebody that is more sexually liberated wouldn't have? That's a super fair question. And to turn that into the like, oh, you just think that promiscuous people want to get raped is like the worst engagement with that point ever. And I don't even think you disagree with me. I'm positive you would agree with what I'm saying there. They're like, a really conservative person, yeah, there's a lot of sexual shame. It's probably going to feel even worse getting, you don't?
No, I don't. No, I don't actually agree with this point because I've, like, from my understanding of the at least what I've read or consumed, people feel equally as bad. They have a different relationship with the bad, but the bad is the same. Do you get what I'm saying? The level of bad is the same. It's just for different reasons.
I don't agree with that, but I would just have to see it, I guess. I've never seen anything showing that ever.
I have like books I can recommend. I have like channels I can recommend. Like, again, I'll have professionals on, but it's the level of bad is the same, but the why is different. So a conservative woman who's raped might have a different why, and the promiscuous woman might have a different why, or the man might have a different why, but they feel bad. Like, that's what I'm saying. Why would you disagree with me? Because when you disagree, you're saying that a promiscuous woman wouldn't feel as bad getting raped. Is that what you're saying?
I think that they wouldn't. I don't know if it would be to the same level. So, like, for instance, like women that grow up in certain conservative households can literally feel like, I don't know if they would get trauma responses, but they literally feel disgusting about their own bodies. They can't masturbate. If they get wet, they have like horrible feelings about it. And these are completely externally produced feelings, right? Like, it's not like a woman naturally hates her vagina or naturally hates getting aroused. But like, I've talked to a conservative women growing up who would like sometimes like hump a pillow and then cry after orgasming because they felt like they're doing something horrible, right? And these are people that have trouble like engaging in any sexual contact later on because they feel so ashamed about it. Now, would that rise to the level of trauma response? I'm not sure, but that's something that is totally externally driven. Compared to something that's more sexually liberated, they might not have that feeling whatsoever. So I don't know why I wouldn't extrapolate that experience to almost all forms of interaction, where there are some things that a certain person might go through it and like, that sucked, and another person might go through it and it's like, fuck, I'm actually like less of a human being because of the situation I've been raised in to feel that way.
Yeah, I think that, again, maybe I'm looking at it like a little differently. So if a person grew up in like a rough neighborhood and was fully like expected to get jumped, and that was like their normal life, right? But they were always like prepared, and it still happened, and they maybe felt a way about it. Like, I always wonder if gang people experience PTSD, or is it just a part of it, right? But like, again, the level might be different. So maybe you're like jumped by a gang and you're paralyzed now. You would still feel pretty fucking bad, but it would be for a different reason than the guy who's just like innocently walking down the street and gets hit. Then they would feel bad for a different reason, but the pain is there. So like, if a promiscuous woman is raped and a conservative woman is raped, the pain is there. It's just for the why is different. But a promiscuous woman who loves sex doesn't want sex ruined. So that's why I say,
hold on. I've never even said anything remotely similar to a promiscuous woman wants to get raped. Can you rephrase what I mean when I say that, just so I can understand that we have the same thing in our mind?
That a promiscuous woman would be impacted differently than a conservative woman when it comes to assault or rape.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. I don't think the differently means better, so I want to make sure you don't mean that either.
Okay, do you think that some forms of trauma are worse, or are they all the exact same?
I don't like to compare trauma, because if we did, someone's always going to have it worse. But of course, Brittany, could put together a maybe. I've tried this a lot with my other friends who have had assault, like who had the worst rape. We've had those conversations. It's really hard to do it.
Sure. I agree with that, but like, I mean, like, descriptively, like, it must be true that there are some forms of trauma that are worse than other forms of trauma, right? If somebody jumps you and beats you up, that's probably, like, all else equal, not as bad as somebody jumping you and, like, breaking your arm, or somebody jumping you and, like, breaking your spine, right? Or, like, falling off a horse and, like, breaking your neck versus falling off your horse and breaking an arm, right? Some forms are going to be worse than others, right?
But it's subjective all the same, right? That's why you got a lot of interesting comments on your Reddit who were like, oh, I'd rather be like tortured for sure than raped.
When we say subjective, I feel like we use words like subjective to mean random. Subjective is not random, right? All of our experiences are subjective, but we can still generalize. Like, there is going to be some women out there, I think it's the case that women are more tolerant of pain than men, I think. So it might be the case that like a woman out there can break her arm and a guy can break a finger, and the guy actually has a worse response than the woman does because the woman is just more conditioned to like painful things in general.
Yeah.
That may be the case. But we can still generally say that like all else equal, like the same type of person breaking their arm versus the same type of person breaking their finger, the arm break is probably going to be worse, right? We can still, in order for society to work or anything to work, we have to be able to speak on reasonable sensible spectrums, whether we're assigning like pain medication to somebody or whether we're helping somebody deal with the trauma, right? If you've got a really minor trauma, it might be as easy as like you need a little bit of exposure therapy and you'll be fine. Or it might be like CPTSD where it's like you have to be in like major fucking rehab or your whole life is going to be destroyed. So even in like a clinical setting, we have to be able to measure to some extent like what kind of like how bad is your trauma. It's not enough to just go, oh well, it's all subjective and everybody can be anything. We have to be able to measure it a little bit.
Yes, but again, because the individual has a different relationship with that pain or trauma, we all get hurt, we all have pain, but we all feel it differently and have different relationships to it. Your statement insinuates that a promiscuous woman would be more okay with rape than a conservative one.
I think all else equal, yes. Because I think that conservative people, I don't even think you disagree. I think you're just giving me the answer that you feel like you're supposed to give.
Listen, listen to what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah.
Trauma is trauma.
It's not though. What do you mean trauma is trauma? No, that's not even true. Pain is pain. That's not even true. Do you think that like there are lots of women that don't necessarily report that much pain when giving birth because of the euphoria of like having a child and everything?
Yes, because they have a different experience with it. So you can't say giving birth is always painful. It's like, well, for some people it's more painful than for others.
Sure, exactly. But the thing that happens to the the thing that happens to the body in birth, that's a traumatic event. That's some crazy shit that's happening compared to most things. But so I think you can't just say like trauma is trauma because it's not. I think that there's a lot of stuff that factors into whether or not we will experience trauma with a particular thing or how severe that response will be.
Right, but I'm making the argument, and maybe you're not hearing me, is that the pain occurs at the same level for different reasons. Or for the same. Promiscuous women and men have reported that they feel just as out of control and away from their bodies as people who are like in other bubbles, from my understanding. Everyone is experiencing a similar pain trauma with rape, regardless of their backgrounds, but it's still happening. Now, for the people that it's happening to, some people won't have this experience, but the promiscuity you're making the point that it could impact it, and I just don't think it does. Based off of like the things I've read about trauma, that is one of the most, like that's what a very consistent talking point from the right. That's why I said that.
Hold on,
Wait, please. God. I didn't mean to say, I didn't want to straw man you or something. I'm saying, I'm letting you know that is a misconception. Like if you wear slutty clothes, you're more likely to get raped.
No,
that's not true.
It's not. That has nothing to do with that. How about instead of saying more okay with getting raped, let's say less traumatized. That's what I mean. Less
that's
traumatized.
What I'm saying. There's nothing I've read, no psychologist I've listened to, no book I've read of the thousands I've read where that seems to be consistent. And again, I'm not the professional, so I'll bring one on, but like that's not what I'm hearing. Where are you getting that from? Why do you even have that thought?
From what I've read, there are a lot of things that mediate the type of trauma response we have to things. One of those things can be whether or not you're religious. Somebody with a high level of faith that has a healthy engagement with religion, for instance, tend to have less trauma responses in their life because of a coping mechanism. Things like ACEs, adverse child encounters, I think, will mediate health outcomes and your likelihood of being traumatized in the future. Things like certain genes being turned on or off will mediate trauma response in the future. There's a ton of things that psychologists I can shoot you an article on if you want.
Please, Stephen, I agree. What does that have to do with promiscuous women then? Why did you make that assumption about that?
Because if it happens in every single other area of life, why would this one area be special? And this is actually...
What do you mean? What happens?
Sex
happens?
No,
rape happens?
What happens is different people, based on their background and lived experience and everything else, respond differently to traumatic events. But you're saying, whoa, no. For rape, it's actually the singular, it's the exact same thing for everybody. That's a ridiculous statement.
No, I'm not saying that.
You're saying that regardless of your background, rape is always going to have the same level of bad response to a woman?
I did not say that.
Okay, you literally said it.
I literally just said some people get raped and it doesn't traumatize them.
Okay, earlier what you said verbatim was that there might be different reasons why people feel a level of bad, but the level of bad will be the same. If you're changing that, that's fine. Okay, you said that verbatim.
I am saying that your argument was that if a conservative woman or a promiscuous woman gets raped, the promiscuous woman would have a better time of it. And I said, no. I feel like if she's traumatized, she's traumatized. Being promiscuous doesn't now allow me to have less trauma with my sex or my rape. You are the one saying that. I'm saying, no, it depends on the person. Some promiscuous women might have a harder time, and some conservative women might have an easier time, and I'm saying it's nuanced. You are the one saying all promiscuous women X.
Okay, here's a general question.
You're saying,
Let's say that let's say that two people find themselves turned on in public because they see something that's very sexually arousing. If it's one is a conservative woman and one is a promiscuous one, who's more likely to have a better response to that getting turned on? Also, let's not use promiscuous. Let's use sexually liberated. Because I'm not just saying like, oh, a slut. Like somebody that has like a better engagement, a healthier engagement with their sexuality. Who's more likely to have a healthier response to like getting turned on in public? And who's more likely to have like feelings of shame?
I want to say that it depends on the conservative bubble, but generally speaking, I would say the conservative bubble will probably experience more shame for sure.
Okay, let's say that two people are engaged in a sexual act, okay? Let's say that for the first time, both people squirt, okay? Who's more likely to feel like intense shame relating to that? Like the conservative person or the sexually liberated person?
Wait, can you repeat the question?
Let's say that a woman is engaged in a sexual activity, and let's say for the first time ever she squirts. Who's more likely to feel like feelings of intense shame about that? The sexually liberated person or the conservative person?
I don't know, because most conservatives I know who are married don't care what happens in the bedroom. So why would squirting be shameful to a conservative? I could see why it could be, because it's kind of like awkward, but most of the conservatives I know who are married, everything goes in the bedroom because they're married under the sanctity of marriage. Except anal. So anal's not allowed. But squirting is normal. It's like orgasming, so why would they be ashamed of an orgasm?
Fuck, it might be the bubbles, but I think that squirting is less common than anal. I think squirting is relatively rare. If we're talking full on fucking, not like I got really wet, but like we need towels.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so again, I don't know this, but like from my experience with conservative bubbles, yeah, everything but anal goes in the bedroom. Squirting is a good sign because that means your man loves you. But I don't know. Like, I don't know. That could be just my sheltered experience.
Okay. I guess without doing a million examples, my feeling is going to be that the sexually liberated person is probably going to be able to deal with strange...
Rape better?
I didn't say that. I said strange sexual events better than the conservative person, because the conservative person is going to have like more hang-ups, more shame, more externally reinforced expectations about their sexuality that's going to make it harder for them to deal with those events. Whereas the sexually liberated person will have an easier time navigating them. If that is true, which not any reasonable person would say that's obviously true. If that is true, I don't know why that wouldn't also extend into realms relating to like sexual assault or rape. That like, let's say somebody gets sexually assaulted or raped, that like, I feel like for a conservative-minded person, I feel like there are a lot of questions of like, am I worth anything now in the future? Has my body been degraded? Is a husband gonna love or respect me? Like, they're gonna have thoughts or questions in their head that a promiscuous person or a sexually liberated person is never gonna have, but is less likely to have. That'd be my guess, if they have a good engagement with sex. Not that it would be great, not that they love to get raped, not that the rape is so much better, but just that they would likely have tools to deal with it in a better way, which would hopefully mediate a traumatic response.
Yes. So from everything I've seen, that doesn't seem to be the case, because PTSD and trauma to the body and brain seem to impact everyone, irregardless of how comfortable they are with their bodies.
I would love to see like a thing on that, or you can send me like a...
I will absolutely, the moment any of these people get back to me, the moment I have everything put together, I will 100% send it to you.
Gotcha.
But this is very important to me because I have like spent a lot of time trying to recover from my PTSD, and from my understanding of how the body works, the body really does hold the trauma, and it doesn't matter that I'm liberated. It didn't matter that I had, I was a secularist when I got raped. It didn't matter. Like, being promiscuous is the assumed, you'll deal with it better. But I think that's the bad assumption because it doesn't seem to correlate with the data, but I could see why the assumption is made.
I think it does correlate with the data. I don't think there's any data that contradicts me. I've never seen anything ever.
I will send you the data. I will get a professional on. Maybe you have more clout than me. Maybe you can get them to talk to you faster. But I will reach out to some of the psychologists I know who deal with trauma on YouTube, and I will see if they want to talk to me. Because, I just feel like I'm not the person to say this, but from what I've read, that's not the case.
Okay.
So I do appreciate you talking to me. See we fixed it. We're good.
Did we though?
Right?
No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
Did we? We're good. I didn't mean to misunderstand you, but I don't know if like I'm just trying to, as your like hopefully friend, also just let you know like, hey, I think I might be hearing you wrong, or I think I'm hearing something. But to be clear, you do have that stance that you feel like a sexually liberated person would have a better way
I don't
want
to say better time. Let's say less trauma, because the
Less
intuition
traumatic
pump
time.
is so insane there. Yeah. Just like how like 200 years ago, I think that a child dying probably wasn't as traumatic as like a child dying today. If you go back to where like people have 12 kids and 6 of them die, I don't know if that parent is experiencing the same trauma as like today if a kid dies, where it's like a really, really, really big deal. That'd just be my guess, because the cultural expectations and the social norms are going to heavily influence how you expect an event to happen and the response to said event.
Okay, then I will 100. I just wanted to make sure, because that was what I heard, and that's where we heavily disagree. But that is, I just don't want to take you out of context anymore. So we've all heard it from Steven's mouth.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. I will reach out to you when I have more information.
All right. Be careful, buddy.
Okay, thanks. Have a good day.
Bye. Jesus. Ooh. Okay.
Okay.
We need less.
Can you hear
I'm
me,
just kidding,
Casey?
Stop.
Yeah, a little bit. I was having a little bit of trouble.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I can hear you.
If I had to make the case that anti-trans legislation is genocide, I would say something like the following.
Okay. What would you say?
Trans folks
Wait, let me
have a high rate of suicide.
Thank you. Hold on. Let me plug my phone. 1 second. Destiny's point is so easy to understand. The problem is that, especially if a victim or other people that feel strongly about this hear my point, what all they're hearing me say is, if you get raped and you're traumatized, it's your fault. I think that's what they hear on like repeat from what I'm saying over and over again. Oh, you're traumatized from a rape? Sounds like you should just not be traumatized from a rape. I think that's what they just hear on repeat over and over and over again. That's probably the issue, I think. If I wanted to like, well, yeah, no, okay. Let's say you got robbed and you got robbed again. Destiny is saying the second time can't be as traumatic. I'm not saying it can't be. What I'm saying is it probably wouldn't be. If I had to guess, if I was in Ukraine and a fucking missile hit a building, I would probably lose my shit for like an hour. I would probably be shaking. I'd probably be wondering if I'm about to instantaneously die. And my guess is other people like Anna from Ukraine, she would probably go back to sleep and not even think about it. That's my guess. I'm sure some people are traumatized, but like some people, like the conditions around you could be really normalized or really fucked, but like people adapt. Like acclimation is one of the things that we do the best as humans. That's why people with horrible disabilities even report decently high standards of living and happiness, self-reported happiness or whatever, because you get used to it. Believe it or not, you get used to being in a wheelchair. You get used to being blind or deaf. Like these are things that you adjust to. You're not miserable every single day about it, generally, unless there's other things going on. But humans act, or when you get new things, you adapt really quickly, right? You get a new iPhone, you get a new car, you get a new raise or whatever, and you think, God, this is the best day of my life. This is so awesome. And then after like a week, you're like, oh, fuck, it just feels normal again. You don't feel amazing every single time you look at your new phone. You feel cool for like 3 days, and then you're over it, right? Humans adapt to things. We acclimate very, very, very quickly to almost everything. It's just like human nature. Like, I think we've watched videos of like people outside drinking fucking coffee in Israel when like the Iron Dome is like intercepting rockets and shit, and people are just like out there like chilling, and I'm like, what the fuck? I think that some people are very resistant to the idea that trauma is a social component, can be partially post-hoc inflicted. Yeah, maybe. And she keeps bringing up, uh-oh.
Every time.
Oh, what do you want? Are you about to trigger the fuck out of me?
No, actually, I think I understood what you were saying, but I think that I understand why it wasn't received very well. But I think if you were framing it as why are some people more resilient than others?
I think that framing is even worse because then it makes people feel like losers. Like, why aren't you resilient enough? Why is this person so much more resilient than you? I feel like people get really bad feelings about that word. So I try not to use that as much. Yes. I said tenacious instead, but...
There's a lot of valid reasons why someone wouldn't be resilient, and it wouldn't be their fault.
But it sounds like victim blaming, right? Maybe people say what I said sound like victim blaming. I feel like that. Maybe not. Maybe other people wouldn't. But I feel like if I said, oh, like, why weren't you more resilient when you got raped? Like, why didn't you have higher resiliency? Why are some people, like, so negatively affected by it? Like, it feels like victim blaming, I guess.
Oh, well, I mean, someone shouldn't have to necessarily justify their lack of resilience, although if they were open to talking about it, I suppose they could. Because, I mean, it could just be things like how or where you were brought up. If you have, like, a good support network, you have good friends, you're connected with your family. History of mental illness will increase your likelihood of PTSD. Just being a woman and the experiences that you go through increases your chance of PTSD and things like this. But it doesn't mean that... I mean, if I see someone who's very adaptable and resilient, I just think they're fucking lucky because they probably had a really good life to give them the position where they're at. But it doesn't mean that someone that's not as resilient sucks. I don't think so.
I mean, I agree with you, but I think that's what people feel like people are saying.
Huh. Well,
that like, oh, you're not resilient enough, so like...
Yeah, I mean, I've been through trauma, and etc. And I wouldn't say that if someone said I was less resilient, they would be wrong. I think they would have been right. I think I'm definitely in a better position now. And I don't think that if someone said that to me, they would be victim blaming. I think that's pretty much what my psychiatrist came out with anyway. It's like, you need to work on this and this and this. You're not as resilient because of this, this, and this. So, you know.
Okay.
I don't know. But I guess, yeah, maybe people are just really extra sensitive about it.
Okay, yeah, that also sounds kind of mean to say, but okay.
No, it's not. Like, people have things they're sensitive about, and that's completely
It must be nice
fine.
being a woman when you can just say shit like this and not have to worry about how people perceive it, you know? I like that for you.
But didn't Brittany say that she was sensitive about it? I think, didn't she?
Yeah, but Brittany's pretty honest about her feelings and stuff. I think she's a little bit more capable than most of like having a mature conversation. I think most people, if you call them like, you're being kind of sensitive about this, would get very upset.
Oh, well, I think it's, yeah, I mean, if you're saying it to somebody, I guess that can be rude. But if you have self-awareness and you can acknowledge it, I think it's better for conducive conversation in the spot. But yeah, I see what you mean. I don't think you were asking a bad question. I think it's there's a lot of nuance in it. It's going to be a variety of reasons why some people can bounce back and others really struggle. And it can be a bit random in some situations. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
But I mean, there's a lot of studies that suggest that emotional pain can be as bad, if not worse, than physical pain. So if you have something that's physical pain and an emotional pain on top, you can imagine why it might end up being a bit worse.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, anyway, I didn't think you were saying anything that bad, so...
Okay.
I just came in for a tiny bit of support there. Alright, I'm gonna head off. Bye.
Be careful, bud. Man, we're in it today, huh? I don't know what to do with my extra fucking uranium. That shit cray. Make nukes? I've already killed all them aliens. I don't need nukes. I could just bank a ton of nuclear fuel, I guess, but... Okay, let me... Okay, let me go. I need to charge my phone 1 sec. Ooh. Holy shit, guys. There's a fucking trans civil war going on. No serious trans right activist should work with Keffels or give her a platform. She's a bully who targets autistic people and has a very public reputation for anti-black racism. No community leader of any value attacks their own community in this irresponsible, dangerous way. I feel like I just want to retweet everybody involved in this. There were 12,000 tweets about Keffels today. Rip. Force him on a new way to throw? Another? New way before, never done before. No shot. Man greets police officers with a gun and gets instantly deleted. Wait, what the fuck? Was he trying to do suicide by cop or what?
Oh no, I'm dead again.
LUL.
God, that was such a good throw. Hold on. New throw?
Never give up.
Wait, how did he even die?
Crafting.
Oh, cute. Okay. Wait, how did he die here?
Crafting. Zoomer slow, never give up. Crafting.
What are these guys talking about? Uh-oh.
And to some extent, I would expect that, like, I don't know if sexual, so I think he might be missing the mark here. I don't know, and I haven't seen the data. I haven't seen any good data specifically on sexual liberation and whatnot. I see mostly self-reports on it, which I'm like, I don't know how much I care about somebody saying that, because how you and I both know there's a lot of people who feel sexually liberated who are mostly like still dealing with their sexual shame. They're just like dealing with it by trying to like put on the facade of being opposite, right?
100.
So even the studies I've seen, I don't know how much I care, but when I think about it, I don't know if sexual liberation specifically is a protective factor as much as sexual repression and shame is a risk factor.
I agree with that.
Okay.
That's what I agree with. That's what I agree with. I don't think, because what it does in the mind of the listener, and I'm just trying to be like careful with language here, is that it gives less sympathy and empathy to the sexually liberated person, as if it's not.
This is okay. So this is exactly what I think I said was happening. What I thought is that she feels like I'm just like victim blaming. It was that she kept phrasing it was like, oh, so you think that like sexually promiscuous people love getting raped or whatever? It's like
not as bad. And I think that's super dangerous because not all sexually liberated people have resources, or they also like, maybe they're like me, where they suffer from toxic masculinity and they suffer from like, I never need help. I'm fine. Everything's fine. But obviously, like, I still deal with it to this day. And so it is one of those things where I just want there to be a clarification, because the worry is that, again, everyone's different and I want to accept everyone from where they come from. But this is the reason why I think I want to give him the benefit of the doubt of being a good person, which I don't have to do. I know he's a good person.
Right.
But good people don't always protect the people in their lives the way they could.
Right.
And so,
like I said, there's such bad.
Girl, did you walk all the way to Antarctica?
Oh, fuck.
You're so far away. You are literally on the other side of the universe.
Oh, man, I keep forgetting which mic. Usually when I have my camera on, it reminds me to stay by this mic. But I usually use my headset mic, and I'm walking around thinking I have it. I did come back from Antarctica. I can report the penguins are happy still.
Yay, I'm so glad. So yeah, of course Steven's a good person. I just again, a lot of people were confused by his statements because it sounded, again, so okay, that's what I always say, like the why and how we come from an angle matters. So I always want to come from everyone suffers, suffering is valid, but let's talk about in your personal life how to be grateful for certain things. Like maybe a sexually liberated person can be grateful for like access to support groups.
Right.
And then that's gratefulness and humility, and that's beautiful. But none of that negates the pain and trauma that people endure.
Right. And I genuinely, when listening to Steven, I don't think he was trying to say that they're not getting traumatized at all. I could be wrong. I don't want to put words in his mouth. But when I was listening to it, I was listening to somebody who's like probably not super trauma informed on language specifically.
Yeah.
Trying to describe risk factors and protective factors.
Do you think they're less traumatized?
I don't know.
Oh, now I want to scream at Erudite. I just want to scream at Erudite.
It's really hard to quantify like less and more traumatized because, as you kind of said, two people with very like. Have you heard of the? Oh man, I'm gonna use. Have you ever heard of like the diathesis stress model of like mental health?
No.
Okay, big word. Doesn't really matter. It's basically like imagine a person is like a beaker, and you have this genetic point of a line along the beaker. Where if you have enough events and it gets you past that line, you're now at risk for like mental health issues, right? And everyone's kind of set point is different. Some people have personality differences, right? Some people are very, like some babies, you can test like stimuli reaction. Some babies, when you show like novel stimuli to, they get really excited and they want to touch it. Other babies just fucking scream. They hate it, right? I'd be interested to know like how much is that proclivity a protective factor, a risk factor for how you handle distressing events at large. But the issue when we're talking about like trauma itself as an individual, we're always having to navigate like individual experiences where an event that traumatizes Cindy, if it identically happened to Anne might be like, yeah, it wasn't a big deal. Whereas Cindy might be like, that shattered my world. Because in a lot of, because this is kind of like the element of trauma that's, as you said, like subjective. It's
Brittany's saying exactly, but she's technically disagreeing with what she said before.
What seems to traumatize people specifically is when they feel helpless and it shatters their expectations of the world, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, in the cases of rape, we have, especially penetrative.
I'm going full pro rape after this. I'm ready. I'm waiting for Erudite to come in.
A lot of guys that I talk to, they're like, yeah, like if I got raped on my dick,
I'm ready. I don't care. Now I'm done. Now I'm done with this. I'm done now.
Oh my god, that's awful, right? There seems to be something.
Literally, that was all of Destiny's Reddit. They're like, yeah, if I was raped by a woman, no big deal. But wait, a man? Nah, I'll take the jumped. I'll get jumped instead. And that's the point. The point is that we're all having different conversations.
Yes.
Because when I say rape, I don't mean stealthing. Even though it's sexual assault, right? So there's like a conversation, or some people consider their molestations rapes, and I don't. So like we're having different conversations, but ultimately, everyone experiences it differently, and I don't want to play that game because again, someone is always going to suffer more than you. But of course, like, I don't know, like I just don't, like, how do you explain to somebody, like, do you relate to that idea of, like, genuinely, if somebody's like, would you like to be raped again? Or would you like to lose your pinky finger? What do I need a pinky finger for?
I'm not sure how much I don't know. I don't know what I think about that.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that was the conversation we ended up all having, though. And that's the problem is, of course, it's going to be different based off the people. There's not a wrong or right answer. You can't say, like, Brittany's crazy for not wanting to get raped again. Why? Have you had it? It's awful. Like, for me, something I've never had before would be less traumatizing than something I know is traumatizing.
Right.
And see how I'm choosing? My consent is being considered, so I can choose violence over rape. So I don't know if people are understanding when we're having these conversations. Of course it's going to be subjective. If people want to get raped versus beat up, great. But that doesn't mean that one person is bad or good. It's just like there was a lot of that's insane, that's crazy, this has damaged people. But the thing is like if you've never been raped, of course it doesn't sound that bad if you think it's just like some hot woman is going to take advantage of you in a locker room.
Right. And I think one thing that is important in this conversation, which is like, how does our society treat each of these events, right? Like in the case of a physical assault, I don't think anyone would really question you on it because it's like pretty
I could give
obvious that
GoFundMe,
the
girl.
happened.
I could raise a GoFundMe and people would give me money. If I tried to raise GoFundMe for my rape, very specific groups would only fund me.
Right. And so then it's like, okay, like I think one part that's interesting in this is like, why are we picking one over the other? And I think like something that's probably missing in this conversation is like, because like being socially rejected and experiencing like that level of like psychological mind fucking afterwards is really, really, really distressing. Like a lot, and this is why a lot of people who've experienced both, like when you talk to people who've experienced physical and sexual abuse, a lot of them are like, I would take being physically abused every single time. But yeah, I don't know. It's such a sophisticated topic to talk about, and I think that we really don't have the language or understanding to do it well. Even when I like listen to like sometimes like trauma specialists, like it feels like all we want to do is be like yes queen, yes girl, and it's like the benefit. Like when I first realized that I had like this sexual assault history, I am so glad that my friends didn't respond by going yeah, you're traumatized, you're a victim. Because like I don't know what that fact that would have had on me, but I don't think it would have been good for me. Instead, my friend just like heard me out and allowed me to label the event. She's like, how do you feel about it? What was that experience like for you? At no point did she offer me a label. And I think in a large part, like when I think about like, because I was like 21 when this happened, and it was like in a pretty distressing event, and then I went to gynecologist, and there was like some scarring and like severe vaginismus, and I was like, oh, okay, like all the pieces kind of came together slowly. I'm so glad that I had a friend that was willing to just give me the space to experience the event in the way that I was ready to.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a lot of time when people talk about like certain traumas, we just kind of want to like yes queen them. And like I'm concerned that like we yes queen people into like worse states essentially. Like that would be like one
for sure.
That's my whole point.
Okay, can I say something though? From my experience, I get it equally. So the conservatives don't believe it happens, and the progressives think you have to be traumatized. Right. And I'm like,
I might have said that verbatim. I think I actually said that verbatim. I think I used the phrase yes queen and everything.
I can just actually be honest about how I felt about it.
Right. Yeah.
But that's the problem is like when you are, it doesn't matter. Even Steven's audience were ranking my rape in comments. So it doesn't matter who you talk to. Everyone's going to have a preference and a bias to move you in a direction of answer about what is better and how you should handle it and what should count as rape and all these things, which is why I think it's only matters to the individual and the medical professionals they're working with. I honestly worked on my rape alone, basically. I went to some survival groups and they helped, but eventually I had to stop going to them because they were so wonderfully inclusive. Male appearing people showed up and it would trigger my PTSD. So I didn't even find a safe space in most rape places because they were too busy fighting over whether or not it should be gender inclusive. And it was so frustrating. I was like, okay, I just need to talk to my medical professionals at this point. So that's what I did. I relied not on the bubbles, not the support of my family or friends. I mean, yes, I had them, but I didn't really need them to help me with the bulk of my trauma. I needed a professional who explained to me how my brain works and why my body is feeling this way so I could deal with it. Because honestly, who deals with our PTSD on a daily basis except for us? So I have to deal with it. It's my responsibility. Again, just like my borderline that I didn't ask for. So I understand this. I just feel like sometimes we have an expectation of society without realizing we are a part of the problem. Destiny's words would trigger me, right? If I was with Destiny, that would be very unnerving for me to hear from a sexual partner because he's not putting an onus. He's not putting enough emphasis on protecting both people. He's more sympathetic to one than the other. And that's what it appears as. I'm not saying that's what it is factually. I'm saying I would need somebody who is more, even friends. I've had friends who literally have been like, well, didn't you say your rape was kind of your choice? And I'm like, okay, wow. When I told you that story, you heard the complete wrong message.
Right.
So I think you have to have the right people to actually humanize you, hold you accountable, because a lot of our rapes, especially at parties, could be avoided by not going to certain parties. And at the same time, I don't know that, right? Because a lot of the time we know the people who rape us.
Right.
So there's a lot here. I'm just saying I'm open to any possibility being true, but I don't like the generalizations because people get lost in the weeds that way. I would have gotten lost in the weeds that way. If I got yes girled or rejected, I had to tell both of those bubbles to shut the fuck up and let me work with a singular other person.
Yeah, so then I guess my question would be, is how do we as a society, because as a society, we don't really have the capacity for this high resolution, like nuance, right? Like I would say, we don't take normative claims about like protective and risk factors and apply them to an individual, right? We talk to the individual and let them explore it themselves, right? But when we're talking as a society about this, right, I wonder for...
See it, but the route is long and full of dangers.
In mid-2008...
Devil, I don't know how you feel about this, but there's often
No! I missed the
throw! Public domains and stuff that feel like I feel strange about them, where I'm like, obviously if you were this distressed, that matters to me. But the like event that you're describing, like it is absolutely like a sexually like not good event. But it's really hard for me to apply the same language versus somebody who's like waking up with a dick inside them, or is like too drunk to consent, or like more
for sure,
like clear-cut situations. And so I'm empathetic.
Is this
to
the
both,
throw that
but
I missed?
A lot of times our society kind of tries to like low resolution treat them all the same.
Yes.
Which
I see it.
I know for me,
but the
I sometimes find frustrating, and that's where I think like the
full of
ranking
dangers.
of trauma specifically comes in, because it's like there's a really big difference between somebody who's like pinned down, right, a violent aggravated assault, versus somebody where they were drunk and woke up, versus somebody who was stealth, versus somebody like, and they're all bad. Like nobody should be saying that they're good, but how do we as a society talk about these things? Because it like, especially criminologically, they necessarily have to get treated differently, right? Like they're going to result in different charges, different views admitted to them.
Okay, so just for the record, my work doesn't care about society.
Right.
Because I can't. Society has never helped me. Society has never embraced me. Society has never been the reason I've been successful. It has always been individual bubbles, small groups, individuals, myself. So my work is predicated on not relying on society. Because society takes too long to problem solve. But I appreciate its efforts. So I read a book about a feminist once. I can't remember her name. She's in English. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I watched an interview of her. She's an English feminist. She was brutally raped at a party. And she was like, ugh, what are you going to do? And I was like, damn. Like, the way she reacted to it is kind of the point, is that I want to have her be valid and me be valid. I want the person who was molested at a store just by someone touching their boob, if they felt they were horrified by that, I want that to be as valid as anything else in their own personal experience. And then when the law comes in and all that stuff, sure, there can be a hierarchy. I'm all about tier systems. Let's go. But again, when we're just talking about individual experiences, it's hard to even account for society, because like we're all born in different religious bubbles and cities inside cities. So I don't have those solutions, if I'm being honest, but I want to validate everyone's possible experience, because the moment we make it hierarchical, we like lose our empathy and sympathy for people's like lived experience. Now, are we obligated as individuals or societies to feel sad for everyone? No.
Right.
Because there are some people I know who I don't even know if I believe their stories.
Yes.
But that's the thing. I'm not obligated to believe their stories, but I'm also not a person who would go and say, like, I'm very cautious about how you know what I'm saying?
Okay, I think I figured out where you and Destiny's conversation broke down then. Destiny is talking only about society.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Right, and the personal experiences can't be validated equally on a societal level, because we live in a society with like institutions and systems that respond to these things at a societal level. So I think that's a large portion of where I could be wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, because obviously, like, if I cared about, like, I've tried to work with society. I don't make any leeway. I help a lot more people if I work individually. So obviously, yes, my work is predicated on the individual. How does the individual, like, regardless of how society treats you, how do you get through this trauma? Because society will probably yes man you into more trauma, or no man you into more trauma. And so you have to find a way through yourself. And so I'm very in the survival, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but not the conservative way, the progressive way, which means like fight the fucking system and fuck the system. But the system, I that's why I'm so excited to get like a professional here who like deals with trauma victims directly. That's why I loved my therapist, Kyla, because she legit was like, yeah, of course you want to kill yourself. Life sucks. I was like, thank you. She goes, your life is really hard. I was like, yeah, it's pretty hard, but it's okay. Like, it's fine. I have all these things. She goes, stop saying it's fine when you're allowed to say it sucks, but you're still managing because you're like you're a badass, yes, but it still sucks and you still have to hold yourself accountable. Like she did everything. She cheered me on, she held me accountable, and she made me go apologize to people I hurt.
Right. Yes.
Like she did all of it. It was perfect. But
Yes.
society, to ask that from society, girl.
Right. And so then the question is that I think probably Stephen has is, as a society, can we have a low resolution zeitgeist that's a little bit better than it is now? And I would like to believe that we can. I don't know what it specifically would be, because I think like the idea of like all traumas are equal and you just like treat them all the same is like, I think part of why like we'll get the pushback on the opposite side is because it's like, that's such a like ineffective and untrue statement, right? Whereas instead like trust but verify is like a little bit of a better statement versus like believe all women is probably like not the best kind of way, especially because it's very exclusive. Because
as if people don't lie, as if people don't lie, like so stupid. No, I absolutely, obviously, I think that's all bullshit. Like, but I don't like that Stephen was like, Brittany's too close to this subject. I was like, bro, we're having two different conversations. I feel like we are, and they're like, no, and I'm like, okay. And then now I'm realizing like, okay, if we're talking about society versus the individual, then I literally society, I don't believe it fixes itself. I believe bubbles contribute to the larger bubble, but I think all the bubbles want different things. It will never happen. But sure, low resolution or whatever, sure, go for it, have fun. But yeah, I'm focused on how we treat people individually in our own lives and how our trauma manifests, and then how a lot of us call it a cope, or I don't have any trauma, and it's like, okay, like I don't know what that means, you know what I mean? Because as a society, our trauma is obviously clear.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe it starts with the individual a little bit, but maybe that's too conservative of a talking point, honestly. But yeah, okay, this was super helpful. Do you have any other thoughts, though? I'm not pushing you off, but...
No, yeah, I think that's everything. I just, like, when I was listening to you guys, I was like, oh, we're talking past each other. Like,
yeah,
oh, no.
yeah. And I don't want to do that either, but yeah, so, okay, when I talk to Steven, I should ask him if we're talking about society or individuals.
Yeah, I think that would probably be helpful, although Steven now says that he wants me to come on and fight him, so I guess stay tuned to find out if I misquoted him. So if I was wrong.
Are you going to go on his show? Because we'll listen in. We'll watch.
Yeah. I'm going to go chat to him.
Oh, girl, we'll see you in a...
Hello.
You ready to die?
Yeah, I'm ready to die.
Okay, I'm now...
Did I put words in your mouth? I feel like...
No, it's okay. I've just decided to embrace it. I'm pro-rape, okay? So let's get that out of the way initially, okay? Understand?
Shut up. No,
okay.
you're not. Shut
now
the
that we've
fuck
got that out of the way, okay? I'm going to have a more frank conversation about this, okay? Are you ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Society has been fucking poisoned with the inability to ever understand at scale a negative event that somebody goes through, okay? It might be a child hearing something in a classroom and having a fucking emotional breakdown and then running to Twitter about it, or it might be somebody inappropriately touching you and then having the same response, apparently, as you would to like a full-on fucking horrible gang rape sexual assault, okay? This is not good for a variety of reasons, okay? So here's one thing, okay, that I want to push you on, that I know that you're correct, okay? We have to be able to rank trauma. You understand that, right? As a diagnostician, maybe not professionally, but like you have to be able to get an assessment of where somebody's at with a traumatic response. Nobody would come in and go like, hey, I think my trauma is destroying my life. Like I might need help with this. And you would go, well, actually, all of it is subjective and anybody could respond in anything to anyway. And I don't want to rank your trauma. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
Okay, I'm going to back us up like 2 steps.
Go.
A major reason you and Brittany were misunderstanding is because she's never talking about society. She's always talking about how she, as an individual, interacts with specific.
That's not true. She was talking about society because she was talking about conservative women and promiscuous women and everything. She was talking about society. But ignore that. I don't care about that. I'm asking you now.
Not in the way you are, because you're talking about system.
She was. So I want you to answer my question, okay?
Okay. So the question is...
Being able to rank and understand the badness of somebody's trauma is pretty fucking important from a... Yes, correct?
And she agreed with me by the end.
Yeah, she agreed with you. I know. And you said every single fucking thing I said. But I don't care about that now, okay? Now I'm just fighting you, okay? I'm just
what do you think was the difference? What do you think was the difference?
The difference is that I'm a man. And in her mind, all I'm saying over and over again is you deserve to be raped and your response is your fault and you should have done something better about it. Because having these kinds of conversations are impossible. The only thing people want to hear is your experience was the worst thing that could ever happen in the world, and all experiences like this are the worst thing that can ever happen in the world, and any other type of experience, we can't even think of saying that one was better or worse than the other. I can't even rank them. It's blah, blah, blah. A bunch of silliness, but I understand it, but it's like a personal engagement with it where it's like, this really bothers me, and it sounds like you're just like blaming me on everything. That's what the conversations are if it's anything besides relentless affirmation. That's what it feels like. And I heard her say things in that, like, I want these two different types of traumas to be valid. Of course, every type of trauma can be valid. I've never said anything otherwise. But when I hear statements like that, what I'm hearing is somebody just looking for like affirmation. And the thing that especially bothers me about this is if I was having a personal conversation with somebody and they felt like I wasn't hearing or seeing them, that is totally fine if they feel like I'm being insensitive. But people are jumping into this conversation that I'm already having on stream. I'm already having a conversation about like, is it hierarchical? What's causing people to have traumatic responses? And she was one of the people that jumped in and wanted to talk about it. To jump in and say, well, I feel like it wasn't being sensitive to me. It's like, you entered this conversation that I was having. I'm not here to cater to your personal feelings about it. You wanted to be a part of the conversation that I was already having. If you wanted to dictate or change the terms of that conversation or say, hey, I've got a personal experience with this, could you like be a little bit sensitive about the topic? That's totally fine. I can understand that. But you can't jump into my conversation and then start demanding that I make a whole bunch of like, I need to cater to you and this and this and this and this. Otherwise, I'm being like an insensitive or hateful person. I don't think that's fair. I think that's wrong.
Sure, and I suspect I suspect that Brittany jumped in thinking that she was good to have the conversation at an ideological level specifically. And the problem is that like she, even when she's talking about like groups like bubbles, she's not talking about society in the way you are. Because like when I'm thinking about ranking trauma, I'm thinking about diagnostics, I'm talking about federal crimes, I'm talking about like legislature policy making and like institutional ranking of traumas that is necessary for like we need to figure out whether aggravated rape is worse than like molestation, like touching somebody's breast, because obviously they need to have like different charges that are applied to them, right? The issue is that when she's talking about like conservative women, even when it's like broadband and generalized like that, she's still talking about like the individual person.
Yeah, but at some point, when you're making statements like, and she literally says in the conversation, when you're making statements like anybody can experience anything any way, it's like, what are we talking about right now? Like,
do you think that a therapist or somebody like who is responding to another individual on like an individual level who is a rape victim, that they would talk to Brittany in the way that you were talking about rape?
No, of course not.
Okay. Brittany thinks the most important thing is connecting with the individual. But you
okay, that's fine,
society.
But I agree with that. I think connecting the individual is important, but I'm not having a one-on-one therapy session. I'm having a broader conversation about like what are protective factors for people in coming out of like adverse sexual scenarios or rapes without being as like negatively impacted. Like, are there protective factors? Are there risk factors? That's an interesting question to me. And I don't think it's very, very, very hard to explore it. And it's very hard to know what the answer is. But that type of question is very interesting to me. And it was relevant to another video I think they were watching, whatever. So that's what the conversation was. It wasn't like, what is the most sensitive way that I can approach your particular assault and have that conversation with you? That's like it's a totally separate, almost unrelated conversation.
Sure, I agree. The issue is that like, that was an unvoiced negotiation that probably needed to be stated, and I would agree that probably Brittany needed to spearhead it when she was like noticing these things. I think that that's all super fair. All I'm speaking to is like why the disconnect was happening to such a high level.
Sure, I think I agree with that. Right. Yeah. Okay. But then it feels. I think that's a tall ask of me because it puts me in an awkward spot where I've got to like, damn, somebody's like, are you okay to have this conversation?
Brittany should have spearheaded it.
Sure.
I already said Brittany should have spearheaded it.
Gotcha.
Right? I think that she should have, and I think like looking back now that she realizes, like she just said, she's like, oh, okay. So when I talk to Steven, I need to say, are we talking about individuals or are we talking about society? And I was like, yes, right? She needs to clarify with you specifically, what are we talking about here, right? Because I imagine if you were in Brittany's shoes and she was talking about the individual, you wouldn't recommend going to an individual being like, yeah, but are you sexually liberated? So like, isn't that a protective factor for you?
Of course not. Yeah, obviously.
Of course not. Obviously, right? But the issue is that like she was hearing it through that lens and she wasn't really jumping into like society stuff because she just like in her head, she's like, I don't give a fuck about society at all because society means a very, very restricted thing to her.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I understand that. I think that was essentially my takeaway. That she felt like I was like personally demeaning her experience or telling her that she needed to get over it or something, which is probably how I guess it would have come up. But again, it's the same as jumping into somebody giving financial advice and then you come and you ask a couple questions about like IRAs that you're curious about and then you like go personally like do all of these things because you thought they were talking about you. Like it wasn't the conversation, I guess, which is frustrating.
Right. Okay.
Is there I don't think I'm wrong about anything I've said so far. I think that there are risk factors and there are protective factors that make it more or less likely for you to be traumatized.
I like that language, hey?
Yeah, sure, because I want to use this because you said the fucking retarded thing of like, oh, he's not trauma-informed. I don't think I've said anything that contradicts any research I've read ever. I'm treading lightly in the conversation, but I keep hearing these phrases about it. The body keeps score, the body blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. I don't think that trauma exists in the vacuum of your body. If you've ever seen anything that disagrees with that, or anything that, I pray to you to please fucking link me, because everything I've seen seems to be to the contrary. That trauma and trauma responses, save for like the most extraordinary things, like being extendedly fucking tortured, gang raped, raped, but for like, for a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of it is heavily mediated by the society that you're in. That whether or not you're religious, the type of upbringing you have, the type of adverse events you have as a child, your fucking genes, that all of these things heavily play into the likelihood of you being traumatized. And I keep hearing this repeated thing, the body keeps score, the body keeps score. Like that's somehow supposed to handle all. And they go, well, actually, no. Every single body has like a default set of like response to trauma. I don't think that's true at all. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, or walk me down that path.
Okay. So,
I'm getting frustrated because I'm having multiple people, women, do this thing where they email like, I don't think you know the research. I'm like, I do know the research. I've read tons of articles on this shit, and I've never seen anything. That's why I have the opinion that I do. But then people say things like, oh, you haven't seen the research. I'm like, well, have you read these 7 books? I was like, no, but I don't think you have either. Link me a paragraph, link me a section, give me a chapter to read. I've never, ever, ever in my life seen anything that's contradicted anything that I'm saying ever. And I've always heard things that are contradicting the other things. Like, oh no, everybody can have any response and subjective and ubiquitous responses to trauma, blah, blah, blah. I've never seen anything to support that ever. Okay. All I've seen always is that trauma is complicated, responses are complicated. We don't even know why some people get traumatized, some people don't. Go ahead, cut me off, go. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with, do you know what the limbic system is?
Yes, what about it? Hormones and all that good shit?
Yeah, we kind of like, really reductively, it's like the emotion center. It's not exclusively, but okay. The limbic system doesn't give a fuck about society. The limbic system cares about the body, right? It cares about your personal experience. And what Brittany is trying to say is like, even when you're talking at like a broadband level, it's not that she's like just worried about you demeaning her experience specifically. It's that a victim of trauma will hear that and their limbic system will react necessarily because the limbic system is not very good at parsing these things apart, right? And so what she's trying to say is like, she doesn't want you to use language that is going to cause victims of trauma to experience like greater dismissal, because particularly in the case of sexual assault, like one of the most common things that every sexual assault victim will say is typically some sort of victim blaming. They're going to question themselves maximally. How I could have done more, I should have done more. You know, what was I like? Unironically, what was I wearing? What did I do to bring this on? And then also questions about like, was this even real? Because the limbic system is super, super stupid. A lot of people keep talking about like the body. Okay, I need to separate these 2 books. There's the Bessel van der Kolk book, which is the one that everyone's referring to, which is The Body Keeps the Score, which is a really good book in a lot of ways, but it's also a really bad book because there's a lot of pseudoscience.
It's a pop science book. I know it is. I can just tell by the name of it that it's like the 5-minute body or whatever. There's a lot of pop science books where they'll have these like nuggets of true things and then they extrapolate the fuck out of like single case studies but I mean there might be some things that are true, but like if there's a part that's true that's important, just cite me the chapter or the paragraph or the study that is citing and then I can go there. But and I hate it when people just go, oh, read this whole book. It's like, motherfucker, I'm not gonna read the whole book, you know that. And 2, if you read the book, you should be able to cite the part that's important about it, right? If somebody asks me about something that I've read, I don't understand when people do this. Help me understand this, fucking Kyla, okay? If I read a study or if I read a book or if I see a movie and I go, I really like how this thing was expressed here. I really liked the characterization of fucking nihilism or absurdism or whatever in Albert Camus' The Stranger. And somebody's like, oh, well, what did you like about it? I would never in my entire life go, read the book. I would tell you that these are the parts that I appreciated. This is why I appreciate it. This is why I feel the way I do about it. I hate it when people just say, like, read the book, because it makes me feel like you haven't read it or you didn't understand it. Sorry, go ahead.
Sure. So
my limbic system is highly activated right now. Go ahead.
I can tell. It's okay. I am a master limbic worker.
Oh,
okay?
Hold on. Now you have a master's? Hello.
Oh, yeah, I
hello.
do. Master's
Hello.
degree
President Sunday. Master in the house. Go ahead.
The limbic psychometry.
Okay, go ahead.
Limbic witchcraft. Okay. So a better book that people, so if people cite you a book, you can cite them back another book. I'll give you this weaponry, okay? Which is a better book about the body and trauma is Babette Rothschild's The Body Remembers. I brought this up to you yesterday.
Yes.
Because it's way better.
Okay.
As far as like individual studies, a lot of these individual studies, so the issue with like
just a real quick thing on that, and then you can keep going. I'm not looking for like ammunition to win a debate. I just want to know the information. I'm just curious what's true or what's right. But go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to map this on in 2 ways. I'm going to talk about some of the research that I have seen.
Okay.
But just to be clear, I'm obviously not an expert in trauma by any means. I'm just laying on the laurels of data. Most of the data on trauma is going to be dominantly self-report, which is at best, and epidemiological.
Okay.
What is really compelling to me is longitudinal epidemiological findings on people with trauma.
Mhm.
And what we find is that they're at extremely high risks for things, I think I mentioned this yesterday, for things like IBS, right?
Mhm.
They have higher levels of, they develop like
Probably even
broadband-
cancer, probably all sorts of medical outcomes. It wouldn't surprise me.
all
Yeah.
sorts,
Yeah.
PCOS, all
Mhm.
sorts of things. In fact, like IBS and PCOS are in many ways viewed as kind of like trauma-related diseases.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
So we know we don't. If you study the brain, the first thing any neuroscientist will tell you, who's studied the brain for like 8 to 10 years, like way more than I have, is that we know nothing about the brain.
Sure.
Right? The more we research it, the less we know, because the brain is super flexible. It's neuroplastic.
It's very interconnected. There's not like one section only does one thing.
Exactly.
And whatever. Yeah,
you
yeah,
could
yeah.
just chop out a section and then other sections will be like, I'm gonna do that now, right? Like you could rebuild the vestibular system
Yeah.
even if you pull out like 98% of the like nerves related to it using like people's tongue. It's fucking crazy. Brains are insane. But what we do know is that like, and this is why, for example, when I talk about my trauma and listening to this whole discourse has actually given me a fair bit of insight into like my experience with my childhood sexual abuse, which I have no memories of. I just had body reactions. I have IBS, right? I'm prone to chronic illness. I'm extremely hypervigilant. My muscles are fucking tight all the time. So I'm very prone to sprains and injuries as well. And I had like panic attacks when people touched me, even though I had no memory of this, right? In the case of like adult trauma, or at least post like your hippocampus coming online, you have both the bodily reactions, right? I think I'm a great example of like, in many ways, the bodily effects of the traumatic event itself, right? Which is things like high levels of vaginismus and all sorts of stuff that I've already outlined to you.
Sure.
But then in the case of somebody who also remembers the event, you have all of the psychological trauma that occurs afterwards as well, right? And the problem is at the individual level, you can't take normative findings and apply them very well, right? Even if I know a whole bunch of risk factors and protective factors, it doesn't mean that I can apply that super well and sophisticatedly to an individual to determine the level of trauma that they personally have experienced. You
Sure.
can't really know. This is why, like I said to Brittany, you can have Cindy and Anne who experience the exact same thing. They just get their boob touched. Cindy, her entire world falls apart. Anne is like, it's just like another day. Don't really care, right? This is why we can have like these different effects. Is in part probably because of risk and protective factors, but also things like personality types, and even more fundamental and more kind of like subjective, their psychological expectation of the world, right? Okay. Step one. Did I answer those questions about like body stuff? And
You didn't answer any question that I didn't already know the answer to. Every single thing you've said, I've already believed, and I'm pretty sure I've stated as much, but go for it. I don't want to give you or anybody else in here a misconception that you said something new to me. I understand all of this, and I believe all of this. Yes. Keep going if you want. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad. I'll keep speaking to the choir then.
Good. That's good.
So,
that's fine.
I think the main area where the breakdown happened is that even when you're talking at a societal level, individuals hear it and they hear an individual analysis. Now, there is a certain level of responsibility on the individual. You shouldn't hear people talking about sociological things and assume that they're talking about your individual experience with rape. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. The issue is that, in my mind, the aesthetic matters too, right? So when you're talking at a sociological level, you want to make sure that the aesthetic that you're coming across with to everyone is an aesthetic that communicates things like, I am in no way trying to say that your personal individual trauma is one way or the other, because you can't comment on it. You don't know.
Sure.
I think in a lot of ways what was occurring between you and Brittany is both she's not talking about society, she's talking about individuals, and she's concerned about you demeaning the individuals in the way that you're talking, and also the element of also the aesthetic that you communicate of like saying things like crazy and stuff. A lot of time I think to like...
Wait, saying things like crazy? Wait, I never called her crazy. No? Or said a rape victim's crazy.
I can't remember what the specific words were. I really
can't.
Okay,
well, that's kind of important, because I'm saying like, oh, if you're traumatized by rape, you're crazy. That would be fucking insane for me to say, of course.
Right. So it's not as simple as me saying, be nice. I'm not saying be nice. What I'm saying is, I think in the cases of trauma, you get into really dicey areas unless you're really precise about language, which is why when I said a lot of the same viewpoints that you have to Brittany, her and her audience could receive it, probably in part because I'm a woman with sexual assault history specifically. That already puts me on easier grounds because it immediately communicates an aesthetic to the audience of, I understand you, implicitly, right? Nobody is going to tell me that somebody who had like a sexual assault under 2 doesn't to some extent understand it, right? So I have that aesthetic already working for me. And then I was extremely precise in my language about using words like risk factors and protective factors, which in fairness, you just didn't have that language ammo, or at least you didn't use it at the time. You were trying to communicate in that direction. And I would agree, there should be a greater margin of error extended to you as well, because like these topics are spicy.
Also, be clear when you're saying, when you say greater margin of error, you mean me going above and beyond to protect another person that stumbled into a conversation that they didn't give adequate notice ahead of time was going to be triggering for them. This is what you mean when you say take greater care, right?
No, when I'm saying people need to extend you a greater margin of error, I'm saying like just because you use imprecise language. Like
well, sure, but I don't even think I don't think I said anything imprecisely. I think I wasn't talking like it was a therapy session.
Sure.
No, you gotta either agree or disagree with that. If you feel like I said something that was imprecise or incorrect, then say like, oh, like you said this, it was wrong, or you said this and it's just not true.
Do you think that I spoke like it was a therapy session?
Yes.
Well, how so, specifically?
Because you were trying to take into account their personal history, something. You were trying to relate to them on an empathetic level. You were trying to make sure that their feelings were validated. You were trying to make sure that they felt like they weren't being attacked. That was your goal in that, which feels like a therapy session.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Brittany.
I just want to say for the record, I did not expect you in any way to treat me like anyone but a commenter and a content creator on your stream.
Okay, but you came into a conversation that was pretty heated, and now you like are saying it's like, oh, like he's dog whistling like conservative things about rapes. I feel rape victims feel blamed.
No,
and it's like,
I'm saying just for the record, in case you don't know, that's how it sounds, and now you are agreeing that the way you said things, like I don't know if you agree, but like I'm just letting you know how they were heard. I don't need you to change the way you speak. Like you can do exactly the way you're doing it.
Sure.
You were fine to me on that stream. I didn't feel in any way like you were rude to me on that stream.
okay, hold on. Wait. Hold on. I just want to go back to completely disagree with what you just said. That I agree now that I don't agree that I said or did anything wrong at all. Okay, I don't agree with that.
I'm not saying you didn't do anything wrong. This is not an ethics question. I didn't think you ethically did anything wrong, but I do think you're wrong to assume like sexually liberated women and conservative women, unless you're having a different discussion that I'm having, which is more individual. How do we impact our culture and our bubble, not like laws, because I don't know anything about laws, right? I'm just talking about like, how do you go about your day doing X, Y, and Z after X, Y, and Z happens? And the way you were talking about it made it sound like they should get over it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting and a weird take from him.
I totally disagree. I completely disagree.
Which is why I came on to talk to you about it. But then you came on my stream, and then you did say that you have a perspective, which is your right and your opinion, that you believe that X group experiences less trauma than X group.
Yes.
Okay, so
that doesn't.
That's where we disagree.
Hold on. That is a non sequitur to somebody ought to get over it. People can experience more or less trauma for a huge variety of reasons. Somebody might hear a TV turn on as a childhood, like before they get beaten every day, and now when they hear a TV turn on, they get freaked the fuck out and they expect like there's like a Pavlovian reaction. That doesn't mean they deserve to get over it, or they have to. You're extrapolating that based on things that other people have said. I've never leaned into that ever, and I've spoken plenty of times in the exact opposite.
For sure. The reason I said that, and again, I'm happy to like reword myself, but you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, why can't a girl just go to a party and like get assaulted and the next day be like, oh shoot, like I guess he got one up on me? Like you said that it's interesting that they can't just move past it. Why do you think that is, right? Is that kind of the example you gave? Am I wrong?
It kind of is, but you're reading into it so incorrectly. That's what I'm saying. When I say, why can't somebody do this? You're phrasing it as like, why don't you just do this? My question is generally, why can't somebody do that? Because it seems like they can't. But when I ask that question, implied in that question is that you can't do it. Whereas you're reading it in the slang sense of like, why don't you just get over that? When I'm asking, why can't somebody get over that? It's an interesting question, because there are some things that we get over pretty well. Some things that maybe even traumatizing, but it seems we get over. And there are things we don't get over really well. And I'm just curious why we don't get over some things. But you're hearing it as an attack, when I don't think I've ever given any indication that I'm attacking rape victims or expecting them to get over it.
No, totally. I'm just letting you know that, again, because even my chat's like, but that's what he said. He's literally saying it right now. So again, we can hear your perspective, but I need you to understand that it takes a lot of work to make sure that you don't mean the different tone. And so that's why I called to check in. And then I was like, okay. But I again, you can do you. I'm just letting you know, as from the experiences I've had, and again, anecdotally speaking, I can't trust what you're saying because now I don't have any evidence that you would also, like, I don't have enough evidence to counter that thought as a possible, like, obviously you're a good person, bro. I don't think you're not a good person. I don't think you're gonna rape anyone, obviously, bro. Like, I've been in your house. I would never think that. But that doesn't mean that the way you're communicating couldn't be improved upon to clarify your position without you, like, getting, like, you're yelling right now.
I'm yelling right now because I think I was incredibly clear. Kyla just repeated everything back to you verbatim that I said yesterday, and you agreed with all of it and pretended like it was substantively different than what I've said. And because now people have this impression, it was almost verbatim some of the things she was saying. With, like, she said that yes queen comment, and I think when I gave that exact thing, I think you pushed back hard against it, and you bought what she said 100%. It was the exact same thing that I said. That sometimes people can reinforce your trauma by yes queening you too hard, and it's probably not a good thing. When she said it, you agreed 100%, and you totally fought against me when I said it. And then you started repeating a lot of the things that I said, that the ways that people are raised in society and the way that people are told about things can influence how they are perceiving trauma or the trauma responses they have. Sorry, go ahead.
I think, could I suggest that I think there's kind of two things that are occurring that keep causing like the missing of each other. I could be wrong, and if you want me to shut up, I'll just step out instead.
Talk, girl, talk.
In my view, I think there's kind of two things going on. I already said the aesthetic piece. I think Brittany, probably unironically, I immediately communicate an aesthetic that's going to be, you're going to take my words at my words and not at the possible implications of my words, because I'm a sexual assault victim myself and I'm probably a woman. So I'm like somewhat mental health informed, and therefore like I talk like somebody who's in that world a lot. So I, in every way kind of communicate an aesthetic of like safe, not trying to judge, and empathetic to your situation. Whereas like I think in a lot of ways, Stephen doesn't always communicate that aesthetic, but I think also is at a disadvantage for communicating that aesthetic as well. When I think like he's trying to, in many ways, I think he's like earned the rapport to be taken at his words, and like clarified for like what his words are possibly implying if you're like not sure about it. I'm not sure if that's fair though.
Look, I don't think Stephen is advocating for rape. Like, that's not what I'm saying. And I do admit that I was actually like, I'm gonna call it a mini trigger the day I called you, and I should have just waited a day, thought about it, and called you now. But now I've thought about it, and I've waited a day, and I've re-listened to the stream, and I'm kind of feel like, yeah, it wasn't the best worded conversation, and I think it could have happened differently, but you did feel extremely dismissive to anyone who didn't agree with you.
Because because I need real answers to questions that I'm having.
You're talking like a policymaker, right? You're being really frank, and when you're using words, you're using very precise words. Like you're intentionally asking the questions in the way that you are, but you're not implying it in the way that some policymakers are implying when they say things like, why can't they just get over it? You're obviously not implying that. You're asking like direct questions. But I think the issue is that when you give the aesthetic, especially as a man and sounding like a policymaker, for people who've experienced that trauma, like that aesthetic is something that's really hard to get over. And I'm not saying that like they're right for not getting over it or that you're wrong for doing that. I'm just saying this is probably why the miscommunication happens. I don't think anyone is wrong in this situation. I mostly just think it's a miscommunication.
Yeah, and also with policy making, just in this regard, if there is a policy to be made, you kind of make it sound like sexually liberated people should get less of a focus. And that's why that's interesting to me, because there doesn't seem to be anything that I understand that they don't need as much help as anyone else.
You're so hung up on the one example.
No, that's okay.
But
that's
hold
okay.
on, wait, but if what I said is true, then they should get more of the focus. Yes. That's how we treat these types of things.
Fine.
No. I'm right. It's not just an opinion. People that are more negatively impacted by some things should get more of the focus than other people, right? If there are a group of people walking into the water and they can't swim, they should have more flotation devices than the ones that can. I don't like the idea, the saying of like, well, everything is the same and everybody's blah, blah, blah. And that is absolutely not true, especially when it comes to trauma. And the idea that all of this treated the same is because everybody can everything is not only wrong, it's like unhealthy and dangerous, because different people do respond differently to different things, and it's important to be able to account for that. That's why when somebody's diagnosed with like PTSD or CPSD, they have to take an inventory, they have to take an assessment. It's not just you come in and say, I'm traumatized, and they're all treated the exact same.
Okay, so just to clarify, if two people are raped, before we help either, we should see who got raped worse.
I'm oh God, hold on. I'm
He's
trying not to
he's
say.
Talking out of,
No!
he's talking out of
Hold on. I'm trying to answer this question without fucking going full nuclear, okay? What I'm saying is that if two people got raped, when they're evaluated by a psychologist or a psychiatrist or therapist, whoever the fuck is evaluating them, there probably are predictive things that you're looking for to see what are more likely outcomes. So for instance, let's say two people come in and they both say that they got raped. And let's say one person says, yeah, I got raped, and also I got laid off by my job, and I've had some suicidal ideation in the past. I don't feel bad right now, and I also have like depressive disorder, whatever. That person, maybe the therapist looks at their notes, or they have their research. Whatever. These people are like 95% more likely to try to kill themselves after rape. Yes, that person would be treated differently. Yes, based on their history and the predictive factors.
I agree with that, but I agree, but
But the way that I said it makes it sound like we should just tease people that got raped and are sluts and then take people seriously that are conservative. Brittany, that is the most insane reading of what I'm saying ever. Like, even the way you're phrasing it is like, so you're saying if two people come in and they got raped and one of them wore a crazy dress and the other one, wore a totally formal dress, that the person that was, dressed more professionally should be taken more seriously? I'm not saying anything remotely close to that. Like, there's no world where I'm saying something like that.
No, I know that, but did you go to your Reddit and read the posts and comments from your guys?
Not yet.
Because a lot of them were like, Destiny's right. Getting raped isn't as bad as getting beat up. And I was like, okay, guys, we can't be like playing the who got hurt more game when it's like every person's going to have a different relationship with their trauma.
No.
The point is,
sorry,
go
finish. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, just
so what I'm saying is, I understand that I was in my feelings. I'm fully admitting it when I initially called you. But now that I've had time to observe and go on your Reddit and see what people are saying, there is a split in conversation. But ultimately, the way you're phrasing things, which is fine, you can do that, is going to sound confusing because it still sounds like you're, like, I understand you want to build a hierarchy. But again, my focus is how do we help as many people as possible? And it doesn't matter who's in line first.
Helping as many people as possible sometimes requires building a hierarchy, right?
Absolutely. From a societal perspective.
Wait, how can you keep agreeing with me when I'm saying the exact opposite of what you're saying?
Because we're talking about different things.
Individuals. She's talking about like her as an individual.
Even as an individual, it would be the same. If I had two children and one came to me and their arm was chopped off and the other one had a paper cut, I'm triaging. I'm going to treat, like with the medical research I have, the one who's bleeding out of their body. Even on an individual level, what I'm saying is true.
I'll give you an example. My sister and I grew up in the same family because she was a straight A student and never caused trouble. Her like all her trauma was neglected because I was a loud child. I threw tantrums. I rebelled. My parents gave me all the attention. And then it wasn't until my sister hit her 20s that they were like, oh shit, we neglected one of our kids because we thought she was in less pain. And what I'm saying is just because it looks like they're in less pain doesn't mean they are, or maybe they're just in a different kind of extreme pain that's the same but different. So I'm just more focused on not forgetting that even if trauma doesn't look traumatic, I get neglected all the time in different ways because I'm like so strong and stuff. People are like, Brittany doesn't need help. Brittany doesn't need help. Now that I'm older, but that doesn't mean I don't need help or people don't need help. I'm just trying to be open and considerate of different personalities, different like ways people present themselves. And I'm totally fine with you doing you in your bubble, in your world. I'm just letting you know as a friend, when I heard it, I was like, oh, that feels weird. And I don't think that's the Steven I know. And so now that we're getting clarifiers, I'm great with everything you're saying in this bubble for that solution, but it wouldn't work in mine because I'm focused on the individual. But I appreciate your efforts on a global, on a national level. Is that okay? Like, I'm okay with your thoughts as long as you understand that, like, it just wouldn't work for all people, just the people you're kind of focusing on.
Sure, I just totally disagree. I think it would work for all people. I don't think you've said a single thing that contradicts anything I've said whatsoever. I don't know why you think that. I don't think that some people can't have hidden trauma or that some people can't. I'm not saying we should ignore some people. I think everything I'm saying applies on a personal and on a societal level. Kyla, if you want to tell me something you think I'm wrong about, go for it. Come in, okay?
It's not about you being wrong. It's not about me saying, I'm not saying, Destiny, it sounds like you're saying X, which is wrong. It's what's really being communicated is Destiny. It sounds like you are somebody who would be saying X, right?
Okay.
Whereas when I'm speaking, it's like, I know you're laughing, but it's like, of course, the way that like you communicate these things are going to influence the way that like, especially audiences that aren't warm to you are going to like receive the words, right? I know it's silly. I know it should be like something that people don't care about, but you would agree that people only typically care about like the first 2 inches of like how people present.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Did that go through? Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How are we doing today, guys?
Good. I'm glad we're talking. I was really scared you weren't going to talk to me again when Chad was like, he's not going to talk to her. And I was like, oh no.
Brittany, I'll always talk to you, okay?
Thanks. I appreciate it. I don't want to burn a bridge when this is a great example of how to like build, like, you know, mesh bubbles and build bridges. And like, this is a great example of how are we both trying to help people in different ways. And then do we need to step on each other's toes, or should we actually stay out each other's business and help who we're helping? That's like I think a question I'm thinking about. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for letting me scream and wild out for a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, we love it. We love it.
Okay.
Okay. We good?
Yep. Be careful.
Okay. Okay. Have a good day, guys.
Yep.
Okay,
bye.
Tell me what I'm wrong about. Am I wrong about anything? I think it applies.
Hold on. I've been saying from the very beginning, and your chat's going to fucking lose their brain. I am not saying you're saying something wrong. I'm not saying that at all.
Okay. All right.
At all.
I sound insensitive.
Hold on.
Yeah.
No, it's more important than that.
Oh, okay.
Not only are you right, but people need to be able to hear it. Okay. That's what matters here. You are correct, and it is fundamental that people hear this, because this is something that you are correct about, that society is failing in. The yas queening shit is bad, right? And the dismissing people's right is bad. So we need, as a society, a more, like, I don't know, just not even more sophisticated, just a better way of how we're approaching these types of conversations. And the issue is, in my mind, it's like an unironic, like, I hate even having to do this, but it's like the main thing is that, like, on a topic like this, I think if you're not really mindful of the way that, like, you sound when you communicate it, you're going to fall on deaf ears. And I think, like, this is the exact advice that you would probably give me. For example, like, when I go on Fresh and Fit, there are two ways that I can approach a conversation with them about, like, women, right? One way is going to communicate to them that I'm a feminazi who hates men. And another way is going to communicate, I understand your side, blah, 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 even though I'm saying the same shit. Because of course how you sound matters. Like, of course they do. And anyone in chat.
Okay, you know what? Are you
like an
listen?
actual autistic?
Okay,
like, I don't know what
here.
else to say.
Are you ready? Are you bored? I'm gonna. Can I pay you for work?
Possibly.
Okay, I will pay you.
Yes until I know.
Verbal contract. I'll give you $100. Okay, if you want to go through like 20 or 30 minutes of my video with Brittany, and can you tell me where I say something where it's like, oh, Steven, when you said this, it kind of sounds like you want women to get raped and you're blaming them for it. Can you do that for me? I just want to hear a part where like, you should have phrased this better, or you should have, okay, I'm being hyperbolic. But like one part where like, when you say something like this, it comes off like this. I'm just super curious because my perception of it, I'm going to kill you first. My perception of it is that it's a lot of like personal feelings and sensitivity on the other side that like I don't think I can accommodate. I don't think I can reasonably accommodate in that conversation. I think the only answer would be to just not talk about these things. That's what it feels like.
Sure. Sure, I will. You don't need to pay me. I will absolutely look through and see if there's anything. It's possible that I'm completely wrong, and I'm just like in my own feelings because like Destiny's my friend, but it's not to me about like rhetoric or tone specifically.
Well, what you're talking about right now is exactly rhetoric and tone. That's exactly what we're talking about.
I'm not trying to talk about that.
I don't care what you're trying to, but that's what we're saying, that like, listen, the type, like, it's literally what is it, ethos or pathos or whatever? Like, the person that you are makes you harder to sympathize with when you talk about these types of sexual assaults. People have heard other things in the past from people that say these types of things, therefore they might mix up, so you need to be careful to like couch your language in as much understanding discourse as possible, or be aware of this, or make this concession, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's all like, and that's not, rhetoric's not necessarily bad, but that is fundamentally, because if you're saying like, oh, well, I think that you're correct about everything you're saying, they're just like, for some reason people might misinterpret or whatever, like it feels like that's what we're talking about. Not that that's bad. I'm not trying to, I'm not sedging you. Yeah.
It's not who you are. It's about some people not believing you're saying something that you're not, right? It's about people reading into implications because you are talking like the way somebody who would be talking when they mean this.
Sure.
It's just about that, right? It's the friend who acts like a persnickety old man when they're actually like super, super kind.
Sure. It's the part of my
asshole, even though they're not.
Yeah, there's a small part of my huge anti-Vosh manifesto what was it? I think it was a Vosh manifesto, where I had written about that there's a problem where we are so scared of certain conversations that just by saying certain things, when we get so obsessed with dog whistles, we like think that somebody's being like hardcore bigoted when they're not. Counterpoints gave an example of one of her videos where there was an image of a white lady holding a white child and it says we need to protect our future. And her first response was, holy shit, this is a Nazi ad. But it was just like some like fucking like homeless adoption shit or something, right? Because like we get like so hardcore into like if you say anything but I think that reinforces my earlier point where it feels like if you even ask the question of like, can our backgrounds mediate our trauma responses, that like you're blaming rape victims. I don't think that's fair. I think that's an insane reaction, but I think that's super normalized in society. Or like, do black people go to prison because they commit more crime? Like if you say that's like, oh my God, you're racist, you're a race realist. You hate, like, it's just like instant. And it's like, I think that's a problem. That's like a bad thing.
Yes, I would agree that it is a bad thing. Because people are so quick to like outhand dismiss.
And then the conversation can't even happen, right? Or like,
yes,
maybe boys need more help in school. Like that's a conversation we can't even have in society, and it's horrible. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
But what would you say if, for example, I went on Fresh and Fit, and in every way, I said everything that I had said, but I said it in, like, I communicated it with a very different aesthetic. So like, rather
I'd be
than
hypercritical of you.
Yeah. Why?
Because you're entering another domain where the expected behavior is going to be far different. If I went onto a panel and the panel was like, this is a whole bunch of sexual assault survivors, let's talk, my conversation is going to be way fucking different than me talking to my stream about how I feel or about questions that I have about these things. I would never in my life go up to a rape victim and be like, do you think that maybe if you weren't such a prude about sex, you wouldn't have cared about getting raped so much? I would never say that in my life. That's an insane thing to say, right?
Right.
But if you were talking on your stream about something, I wouldn't be like, Kyla, when you say these things, people like Fresh and Fit, they're going to think that you're being totally fucking crazy. Because I imagine you say, okay, yeah, well, when I'm on Fresh and Fit, I would act in a different way. But this is just me talking to my audience on my stream. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. The issue is that, like, when we're talking about tone and rhetoric, it feels like an acute issue. I'm not really talking about an acute issue. I'm talking about like a chronic issue, like the whole general energy of like pick me, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I have a chronic aesthetic, so not acutely, so let's imagine I go into a feminist panel and I use all the right rhetoric and tone and everything. But when they go to my channel, they see constant shit that's very pick me energy, right? I have a chronic aesthetic now where even when I'm communicating in a different way, even if I'm using better tone and rhetoric and entering the domain, they're going to hear something different, right?
I understand what you're saying. I asked a question of you last night when we were playing, I think, or when I was playing, sorry. I asked you that question of, do you think it's possible to make yourself exist in a world of clips? Can you actually accommodate every 30-second section of your speech? And I think you reasonably said, no, it's probably not possible. I don't think I can present chronically. I don't think I can present a character that will survive acutely every single situation I'm in. I think that the reality is there are going to be some hats that I wear where some people are going to see me and they're going to go, this motherfucker is insane. I saw Destin, he was the kindest, nicest person ever when he was talking about black women, and now here he is on a progressive panel saying, maybe we can't blame slavery for every single problem of the black community. I thought this guy loved black people, and now he sounds like a fucking conservative. That's just the reality of existing on all the different platforms. But I think that's going to be true of every human being ever. It's just more out front when we're humans, right? The way that you would act with a boyfriend or girlfriend is going to be way different than how you'd act in church, or how you'd act in front of their parents, or how you'd act in front of teachers, or how you'd act in front of your children, right? Like if my child had access to me, well, I guess I'm not a good example because I'm a streamer, so they do. But like, imagine if your child had access to you 24/7. There would be a lot of stuff that it would have a really hard time. Like, well, listen, like that's where all the like, well, sometimes when adults are doing this, like it's different, or sometimes adults don't mean the things they say. Blah, blah. Like it's impossible to exist in a chronic manner where it would survive every single acute interaction, in my opinion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are you hearing me say that I'm saying that you're doing something wrong or that you need to change something?
Yes. Are you not saying that?
That is not. That's not
you're just telling me what's happening?
I'm telling you what is happening. You can, like, I'm just telling you what is happening. This is why people are coming away with this. Generally, your chronic, like, aesthetic, right? People don't think, for example, that you're a guy who flies out 20 girls every week and fucks them and, like, flies them home and ignores them for the rest of the way. Because you don't give that vibe to people. Even though you're rich, you're young, you're famous, you're charismatic, you're decently handsome, right? You just don't communicate that to anyone. No one would really think about that. I'm really not here trying to say you need to change how you appear. It's just all I'm saying is, in the conversation, for example, with Brittany, I get that she was coming into your space, but in a conversation where people are already wondering about like how much of an asshole, how you're cold about things, then you're talking to a rape victim and you're asking questions that communicate an aesthetic that some people are not going to like be able to hear what you're actually saying, and some people won't buy it. In that situation, if you wanted to counter that happening, you could juxtapose your current conversation against your general appearance. So in the general appearance, you appear cold, kind of like chill. You ask questions, but like you're like sometimes communicate like a disinterest, and you're just like, you kind of like suss through things in a very like kind of like logical way, more exclusively, right? If that's like the general aesthetic that people have of you, if you're talking to a rape victim and you wanted to appear like somebody who wasn't saying X or Y or appearing in some sort of way, you could juxtapose it. You don't have to. I don't care either way. I have heard what you said, and I'm not judging you necessarily on your words, but I am saying that this is what's happening.
Sure. I kind of understand what you're saying. I think
because aesthetics is function. Like it's not aesthetics over function. It's not like anything like
yeah,
that.
this is okay. I'll be selfish now, right now, okay? Because this plays into our conversation last night. I think I need to make the ask. I think the thing is, I would have a higher expectation of a friend. I guess that would be my thing. If I heard Brittany saying something that sounded fucking wild, I would never go in and be like, "Oh, Brittany, it sounds like you fucking hate men," right? So like yesterday, I could have said, "Brittany, I think you actually fucking hate men. The way that you played up the fight that your brother got in, you think it's cool that guys get jumped? Like, you don't see that men are the victims of violent crime like 10 times more than women? You don't see that men are getting locked up in prison?" Like, I could have gone down that road, but I don't think Brittany thinks that, right? But she did say exactly the type of thing, a woman romanticizing male violence, that like would play perfectly into that like misandrist narrative. But I don't think Brittany's that kind of person. I would never assume. If I really thought that, I might like shoot her a message, be like, you don't actually think that like getting into fights is like the cool thing about being a guy or whatever, right? Like, but I don't think she does. I think that was just the way she explained the story. So I guess I feel like if somebody comes on, especially a friend, and is like, I think you sound like a conservative that is just telling women to get over rape, and it's like, what? It's just like such an unbelievable feeling of me. It's like getting misgendered, I guess. Like whatever exists of me in your mind is so fucking different than what I would have assumed you would have thought of me. That's just insane to me. But I guess that's just my feeling, I guess. Now I'm in my feelings, okay?
You're like, like it's unfair. That's fine. You're like, it's unfair. Like you're kind of upset. Like, why would my friend take my words over why would you take my words or like the implications of what you think my words are over my obvious known intentions of me as a person? I think that that's super fair.
Thanks for fucking validating my fucking feelings, okay? Doesn't make me feel any better, but thanks. Okay.
I know it doesn't make you feel any better, sure. But I think like this is a different conversation, and I think that this is actually a really valuable conversation, right? Because I don't, if you're like, if we go back to the aesthetic one, if you're just saying, well, I can't do anything about the aesthetic, that's just is what it is and I don't really care, that's fine, right? But the second conversation is, I don't really like that my friend would assume something so like nasty of me when she should know better because she knows me. I think that that's a really important conversation. And in fact, like this is an expressly important conversation. Like Nick and I have had this exact conversation in the past where like he was like, I wish you could just like not just hear like my words and the possible implications of what it could sound like, but that you would like take my words into context of who you know me to be. I think that's a very important conversation to have with somebody.
Okay. Anything else?
Are you gonna make the ask?
Probably not. Maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it's public now, so I mean, she's probably aware that the asks exist.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's probably just around this one topic. I don't think it'll come up again, but.
I mean, I think it's really fair to say, please stop treating me like a misogynistic asshole who would dismiss women and question rape victims. I think that that's a pretty fair ask and a good ask to make of your friends.
True. Okay. I'll draft that up tonight. I'll see. I feel sending it over, okay?
What's going on?
I need to do that, yeah. Fulcrum, say hi to Fulcrum. He's in YouTube chat.
Hi, Fulcrum.
Thank you. Fulcrum? He's the guy that sends us all to Yodi Land. We all go and talk about sexual assault, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Chief?
What's the resistance? Are you gonna ask? I mean, I don't have to. I'm just curious about the like. Now that we've gotten to this point, it seems like you're like, oh fuck, like it's like annoying or like you're not that interested, and I'm curious.
It just feels cringe.
Cringe?
Yeah.
How so?
It just does. It just feels cringe.
Like to have like basically being like, oh damn, like part of this was like an.
Feels like I should just get over it. That's what it feels like.
Oh my gosh.
It happens. I can be an asshole sometimes. Fuck it. What is a no path?
But that's not how feelings work. Emotions aren't cringe. They just are. They just exist.
Yeah, but following them is the cringe part. That's why we go the way of the lone wolf. We just play Sigma male affirmations for 12 hours and we're fucking
Nah, that shit's cringe. That shit's cringe. Like good wisdom is taking logic and emotions and like incorporating them together to figure out the best direction forward. Emotions are based.
Okay. Yeah, probably, yeah. I mean, it's kind of the thing that powers our whole lives, huh?
Yep. Diffusing with humor is cringe, all right?
Me? No shot.
Toxic male right now.
No shot. Not me. I would never do that.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that sounds like someone has a problem confronting feelings and emotions and shit, and they just try to use humor to get out of it until the other person leaves the call. Been fun,
sure
Kyla.
does.
See you. Talk to you later, buddy. See you later.
Okay.
Bye.
You want me to leave you in your avoidance?
Yep. See you later, Kyla. Have fun.
Yeah, diffusing with humor is
Cool.
for blue-haired piss babies.
True.
They're
Absolutely
afraid of
true.
emotions.
Yep.
Yep.
Bye.
Yep.
Have fun.
Okay, bye. Have
See you
fun
later.
with your emotions. Bye. Bye.
Absolutely fucking destroyed. Don't ever let her come back and think she can do anything, okay? But get annihilated on my stream. Okay. Where were we at? We were watching a Vouch. We were watching a Vouch video. Okay. Where I'm just fucking I'm triggered out of my mind today. What is this? Oh, good one, Linus. Okay. No, I should read this. Okay, we were here.
Attempting and suicidal ideation. And when you pass anti-trans bills that make it more difficult for them to avail themselves of the medical or other services that may help them, you increase the odds that they will attempt suicide. And thus one could argue that those bills are in a sense a genocide. Is that like roughly the way one would do it? Is that how you...
I actually disagree with that line. For
Oh my
me,
God,
actually, the root of it would be in bathroom bills. That was where this all started, and I think that might have been like where this is going. Like that's kind of the end point, right? So the bathroom bills, like the whole you have to use your biological bathroom, you use your biological porcelain toilet bowl or whatever. The idea there, I think, is actually one of the most sort of fundamentally genocidal because it completely precludes trans people from existing in a public space. Most bathrooms are gender separated publicly, meaning that if you introduce legislation that could lead to them being arrested if they use the restroom they want to use, but then you whip up a big like anti-trans moral panic that increases the likelihood of them being assaulted if they use the bathroom the state says they should use. The truth is that they're just not going to use public restrooms. And that sounds like a trivial thing, but, and I understand this may come across as a bit hyperbolic, but I fully mean it. We have to understand how much like removal from public faculties was a component of Jim Crow era segregation. There's a lot of weight socially to going like, okay, these institutions, these banal, everyday, ordinary human institutions that everyone else takes for granted, you don't get to use them. Not just because it's circumstantially difficult, the way it might be for, say, a disabled person, where there's just maybe some physical difficulty in using them. That's unfortunate, but it's also kind of a component.
Right.
What the fuck? Yo, it's a Zoomer fuckboy pig. Yo! He got the Zoomer fuck... Wait.
Oh no.
My hair is not like that. That's not what my hair is like.
Okay.
Component of the disability. No, in this case, the state is deliberately, for no reason, removing them from that space. And to my mind, that just reminds me more of the logic behind segregation. I mean, not to mention, we've talked about this on stream. You guys have been seeing this, right? Like DeSantis, like threatening to arrest teachers who have gender ideology in their classrooms, whether it be in books in the library or in the classroom or anything that's said, you know, opening up teachers to being like scrutinized by insane boomer right-wing parents if ever they say anything remotely progressive on gender or sexual issues. Like the laws recently to ban, I forget which state, to ban drag performances, to put them in the same category as like pornography. Obviously, when Republicans draft this legislation, it's not really just targeted at drag, Oklahoma. It's targeted at any kind of like gender divergent behavior. Wow. Keep in mind, it wasn't that long ago that in, say, New York City, the police could arrest you for deviance if you were wearing 3 articles of clothing that, quote, didn't belong to your gender. So if you can, so we have precedent for this stuff, you know. Now, technically, that law doesn't mention trans people, right? Like that like 100-year-old law or whatever, it doesn't say like, yeah, if you're trans, we'll arrest you. But, you know, 3 articles of clothing that are the other gender, like, we know what this actually means, don't we? We're not dumb. I would consider what I'm talking about here, considering the fact that it's part of a deliberate state-orchestrated effort to specifically target one minority group, I can comfortably call that a genocide. I'm okay with, like, I think I can defend that just fine. Because the definition, again, can include, like, an effort to bring about, in whole or in part, like an unlivable, an unlivable state of affairs, to make life just unlivably difficult for a group of people. I mean, Donald Trump was literally just saying, federally ban all trans health.
Of his ideas, because I agree.
Why am I getting sucked into
this? So that's
this?
what I am concerned about. If he's my friend, why isn't he validating even 1 ounce?
Right.
So that's fine. But yeah, we can watch it if you'd like, but I'm embarrassed about it, girl.
The last bit, the emotional stuff?
All of it. Like me talking to Steven the other day, you mean?
We need to get Lab's opinion on this.
Oh, wait, what are you talking about?
Wait, why are you... I'm just saying the last 5 minutes of my conversation with Steven.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you meant the last 5 minutes of the conversation I had with him where I was emotional.
No.
Oh,
I totally...
Okay,
sorry.
I'm not emotional today. Like, I'm not triggered at all today. Oh, okay, yeah, let's watch
I mean,
it.
the last 5 minutes, and then I can fix up my water. But I'm...
Okay. Yeah, okay, let me pull it up. Can you hear it if I play it?
Bad.
It's okay.
But that is fundamental.
Okay.
To a panel.
So, yeah. Let's...
Every single...
Exit.
Okay. Oh my god, he's talked so much.
I feel any better. Okay. I mean...
If I heard Brittany saying something that sounded fucking wild.
He said, if I heard Brittany saying something fucking wild, should I start there?
The 5 minutes back or whatever, the point where you basically heard me be like, yeah, but that's fair. Where you were at before, just keep watching it to the end. In the conversation, for example, with Brittany, and I'm going to mute my mic because we're going to blend a smoothie.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
Just coming into your space. But in a conversation where people are already wondering about like how much of an asshole, how you're cold about things, then you're talking to a rape victim and you're asking questions that communicate an aesthetic that some people are not going to like be able to hear what you're actually saying, and some people won't buy it. In that situation, if you wanted to counter that happening, you could juxtapose your current conversation against your general appearance. So in the general appearance, you appear cold, kind of like chill, you ask questions, but like you're like sometimes communicate like a disinterest, and you're just like, you kind of like suss through things in a very like kind of like logical way, more exclusively, right? If that's like the general aesthetic that people have of you, if you're talking to a rape victim and you wanted to appear like somebody who wasn't saying X or Y or appearing in some sort of way, you could juxtapose it. You don't have to. I don't care either way. I have heard what you said, and I'm not judging you necessarily on your words, but I am saying that this is what's happening.
Sure. I kind of understand what you're saying. I think
because aesthetics is function. Like it's not aesthetics over function. It's not like anything. Like
yeah,
that.
I'm
not telling you to be different.
Okay. I'll be selfish right now, okay? Because this plays into our conversation last night. I think I need to make the ask. I think the thing is, I would have a higher expectation of a friend. I guess that would be my thing. If I heard Brittany saying something that sounded fucking wild, I would never go in and be like, "Oh, Brittany, it sounds like you fucking hate men." Right? So like yesterday, I could have said,
Brittany, I think you actually fucking hate men. The way that you played up the fight that your brother got in, you think it's cool that guys get jumped. Like, you don't see that men are the victims of violent crime like 10 times more than women. You don't see that men are getting locked in prison. Like, I could have gone down that road, but I don't think Brittany thinks that, right? But she did say exactly the type of thing, a woman romanticizing male violence, that like would play perfectly into that like misandrist narrative. But I don't think Brittany's that kind of person. I would never assume. If I really thought that, I might like shoot her a message, be like, you don't actually think that like getting into fights is like the cool thing about being a guy or whatever, right? Like, but I don't think she does. I think that was just the way she was expressing the story. So I guess I would I feel like if somebody comes on, especially a friend, and is like, I think you sound like a conservative that is just telling women to get over rape, and it's like, what?
Sorry, that was me.
It's just like such an unbelievable feeling of me. It's like getting misgendered, I guess. Like whatever exists of me in your mind is so fucking different than what I would have assumed you would have thought of me. That's just insane to me. But I guess that's just my feeling, I guess. Now I'm in my feelings, okay?
You're like, like it's unfair. That's fine. You're like, it's unfair. Like, you're kind of upset. Like, why would my friend take my words over like, why would you take my words or like the implications of what you think my words are over my obvious I think that's super fair.
Thanks for fucking validating my fucking feelings, okay?
So Kyla, if you're listening, he just said, okay, thank you for validating my fucking feelings. Like, you just, like, is that the end of the, you want me to keep going?
Keep going. That's the after part, after the,
okay,
you're validating my fucking feelings part.
Okay.
Doesn't make me feel any better, but thanks. Okay.
I know it doesn't make you feel any better, but I think, like, this is a different conversation, and I think that this is actually a really valuable conversation, right? Because I don't, if you're, like, if we go back to the aesthetic one, if you're just saying, well, I can't do anything about the aesthetic, that's just is what it is, and I don't really care, that's fine. Right? But the second conversation is, I don't really like that my friend would assume something so like nasty of me when she should know better because she knows me. I think that that's a really important conversation. And in fact, like, this is an expressly important conversation. Like, Nick and I have had this exact conversation in the past where, like, he was like, I wish you could just, like, not just hear, like, my words and the possible implications of what it could sound like, but that you would, like, take my words into context of who you know me to be. I think that's a very important conversation to have with somebody.
Okay. Anything else?
He just asked you anything else after you talked about your Nick.
Yeah, so go all the way till after I leave the call and then listen to like one of his comments after, after as well.
Yeah. Wait, what did I say after?
Just exist.
Absolutely
okay, you're gone.
Fucking
You just
destroyed.
left.
Don't ever let her come back and think she can do anything, okay? But get annihilated on my stream. True. What did I say later?
So I'm guessing you heard the piss baby comment and stuff.
Oh, good.
The annihilated comment?
True.
Yeah, and me calling him a piss baby.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay, yeah, I just called him a blue-haired piss baby.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so is that what you wanted me to watch?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you saw all of that context first so that you knew the struggle is real with the emotions.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Okay, we're good on that. Back to Vaush.
Care. And all gender ideology, or ban all federal association with it, meaning that like all.
Vaush is really boring.
This case has the potential to end
We watched
the
like
internet
half of this.
prodigy. We're literally things like support terrorists. They said that.
Wait, we got the gist of that. I need to watch this at some point. I'm debating that Meg in person. Do you think this is real? Who joined?
Hello?
Jesus Christ. Hello?
Hey, you want me to come back or?
Jesus. No. I want you to stay here forever.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll be here forever.
Okay. What's up? How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
All right, cool. Well, then do you mind if I just kind of launch into it and...
Oh, shit. You want to do the whole Twitter thing right now?
Yeah, that's why I was asking if you want me to come back later.
Let me think. Hold on. Let me exit. Let me get my brain. My brain is frazzled right now.
Perfect time to strike.
What which one? What do you want to go over?
Well, so I think the impression from the first conversation was the just for the deep lore, people who might not be aware of the deep lore. we had a first conversation where you took issue with some of my tweets. We talked about it for about an hour. You were asking me for something new and historic. I didn't have anything in hand. So that was like episode number 1, and I think it just kind of ended with, not anything concrete occurring. In the second one, I came back, again, not with anything concrete in hand as far as Twitter files go, but we talked about Hunter Biden and whether or not there was any kind of collusion between the FBI and Twitter itself, and whether or not there was any kind of cover-up or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, the Schellenberger Twitter files weren't out, but I was saying that I believed that there was like aligned interest and all the reason in the world to cover up the Hunter Biden story. And I basically got called a conspiracy theorist and dogpiled by Supreme and Sherry and a little bit of Mind Waves and Straighterade. So that was the second meme conversation. And then since then, the Schellenberger Twitter files have come out, and I felt like it substantiated a good chunk of at least of what I was poking at.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of wondering how you felt about your original claims of the Twitter files being a nothing burger, how you feel about them now, whether or not you think there's anything substantive, and kind of take it from there.
Gotcha. Okay. I feel vindicated. I think I'm right about everything, okay? Here's
Okay. I feel the same way, so
good.
I'm ready.
Okay. Can we do this, okay? My gym closed tonight at 8, so I'm gonna go grab some food, go to the gym, and I'm gonna come back, and can we hammer it out then? Is that okay?
8 p.m.?
Probably like 8:15, yeah.
Okay. I have a conflicting thing, but honestly, I was thinking about it was going to be rough anyways.
Conflicting
I'm
when?
tired, but like the thing starts at 8, but honestly, like
what is it?
I was thinking about not. It's just Crucible.
Oh, is that the thing? Who hosts that one?
So it's Arena. So I think it's going to be a collaborative thing between Rob Noor and Andrew Wilson.
Oh, dude, I've avoided those guys just because I've been busy and shit. Now I'm like taking one of their people away. I feel bad.
I don't care. We were just on a show together last night, and I'll DM him and just say, hey, I got a conflicting thing, and just so this is going to get played back for fucking drama or whatever. I love BPF. I love Rob Noor. I love debating with them and all that kind of shit. But I've kind of had my head wrapped around this for the past week. So actually, I've had my head wrapped around this since Factorio. So I was waiting for like 2 weeks for you to finish Factorio to fucking get this shit done.
Okay.
8:15.
Yeah. Oh no, I think Jimmy Carter is dying tonight. Wait, have you seen this? What? How could you not like Jimmy Carter? Oh my god.
I'm mostly memeing.
Okay. Jeez. Okay. All right. I'll be back in around like 8:15. Okay.
Okay. I'll catch you then.
Be careful. Bye.
Bye.
Jeez. How old is this motherfucker? This guy's like 100 years old, isn't he? "98 years old. Couldn't even make it to 100. If he dies, the oldest living president will be Biden? Jesus. It sounds like it's either going to be tonight or like the day after or something. After a series of short hospital stays, former U.S. President Jimmy Carter today decided to spend his remaining time at home with his family and receive hospice care, which is care you receive as you die, basically, instead of additional medical intervention. He has the full support of his family and his medical team. The Carter family asked for privacy during this time and is grateful for the concern shown by his many admirers. Okay, hold on. Let's see if Jimmy Carter can make it through the night, guys. Come on. J. Carr. Damn, we had one bad hit here. Oof. That was like almost a 9:30. He'll make it through the night, guys, okay? Right in the Wikipedia. Time of death, February 19th, okay? He's gonna make it. He's gonna make it, guys. Actually, hold on. If I can get at least a 930, I can never do the second one's never as good. If I can do this at 930, he's gonna make it another year. He's gonna make it to 99. It's gonna be a miracle tonight, okay? Let's go, come on, guys. One more try. We'll give it one more try. It was close. We'll give it one more try, okay? We'll give it one more try. Come on, come on, come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come. One more. We gotta do one more. Guys, it's right there. We're right there. We're right there. Come on. Come on, Jimmy. Come on, Jimmy. He's fighting. He's fighting, okay? Come on. One more. Come on. Is he gonna... Guys. Guys, can he do it? Let's try. Hold on. Let's go for a 940, okay? 940 is making it for sure to 100, guys. Come on. 940. Come on, come on. Oh my God. Guys. The prophet has spoken. The prophet has spoken. Can we go for a 942? One more, okay? 942, okay? Come on. Fuck it. All right. We pushed too far. That's okay, though. Damn. Okay. All right. Good luck, Jimmy. All right. I'll be back in a while, okay? Be careful.